The year is 2015. Online media was a stark contrast to what it is today. The top creator on YouTube was the reigning PewDiePie, while big YouTubers today like MrBeast were out making Project Zomboid Let's Plays. Vine and Musical.ly were still popular back when 5-second videos were full of nothing but pure cringe. And Minecraft YouTubers were, well, I mean, most of them were low-key bad back then too, so I guess some things stayed the same. Even zombie content was starting to make waves again. Although the genre wasn't nearly as popular as it once was in the early 2000s, it still made a massive impression then. Shows like The Walking Dead were capitalizing on their success, as it was entering its 6th season while also releasing a spin-off of Fear the Walking Dead around that time too. And who could forget Z Nation? Really, who could forget something like this? Of course, with that, zombies in gaming were still going very strong as well. Coming off an incredibly successful past couple of years, 2015 released a few heavy hitters. Games like H1Z1 and Call of Duty Zombie Chronicles were making their presence well known in the market, but on top of everything that came out leading up to 2015, we received a truly top-of-the-line release in the zombie genre. Something which is not only one of the greatest zombie games, but could even be argued as one of the greatest games of all time. Since its release, tens of millions of people have played this on numerous platforms, with the series becoming so popular that 3 separate spin-offs and sequels have followed suit. Even to this day, over 10 years since it hit the market, this game is still being talked about, memed on, and without a shadow of a doubt replayed over and over because it does almost everything right on a fundamental basis. And I could confidently say that because it does just about everything right, this could be easily the closest thing that we get to having a perfect zombie game. I am, of course, talking about Dying Light. In my last couple of videos, I've gone through the rise of Techland and how they were able to go from being a very small startup company to a notable dev team. For a quick sum up, this is Techland, and this is Techland all the way back in its early years. In the early 90s, this Polish group was responsible for simply translating Western media for the Eastern countries after the fall of the Soviet Union. However, throughout the many years, this company dabbled in releasing standalone PC games, creating their own in-house engine that is still updated to this day, and working with publishers to release much larger AAA titles. One of these publishers was Deep Silver, an Austrian-based company that collaborated with the aspiring devs to take on their most ambitious project to date, Dead Island. Now, Dead Island was a success for both companies by all means. I'm talking sales that surpassed the 10 million mark, which would be considered hitting diamond in the music industry. Plus, by what most of y'all had to say in the comments section of my video, Dead Island holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. However, a game being successful doesn't mean that everything was sunshine and rainbows behind closed doors. Behind the scenes, both companies seem to have reached a boiling point with one another. It was apparent that Techland was frustrated at Deep Silver for their conflicting ideas on how the series should be presented, and combine that with the simple problem of technological limitations of the 7th gen consoles, Techland just couldn't create what they envisioned. So, after the release of the far less successful Dead Island Riptide, Techland decided to part ways with Deep Silver and say goodbye to their fateful zombie IP. But obviously that wasn't the last time they would make a zombie game whatsoever. In 2011, news broke out that Techland trademarked the name Dead World, a name that many fans believe would be the next title of the beloved Dead Island franchise. But as far as I'm aware, there's not a Dead Island Dead World release anywhere. Rather, this would be a concept name for an entirely new project separate from the partnered IP that Deep Silver owns. Even though Techland had contractual obligations to finish out Dead Island's sequel, they still delegated some time into conceptualizing their new, soon-to-be project, which would be Dying Light. Oh wow, oh my god, who would have thought? Now, going out to create what you want to create is a great thing. There's probably a post from an annoying white woman on Tumblr with a similar motivational speech to confirm that, but there was a major lingering problem when it came to moving from the concept phase over to the development stage for Dying Light. Money. You see, and you know, this might be some insider information right here, game development is expensive, not just money-wise, but especially time. And Techland more than knew about this problem. They faced a near countless number of issues trying to put their plans into fruition with Dead Island, not only because of the publishers giving them huge creative obstacles to work around, but simply for the fact that the game was being developed on old generation consoles with an engine they haven't fully mastered yet. And for every day that something like Dead Island, Dying Light, or literally any game that isn't yet available to be sold to the public, more more money is being lost. Bear in mind too that even with their growing portfolio, they couldn't afford to develop a meaningful game in a decent amount of time. So in short, they needed a new publisher. And in comes Warner Bros. Sometime in 2011, Techland and Warner Bros. Agreed to partner up for this project. The development team would be getting a massive push in the right direction to create Dying Light, as they would be getting a major boost in funding alongside a boost in attention that not even Deep Silver could garner. Warner Bros. Had already been one of the biggest publishers in gaming up to this point, with the releases like the Arkham series, the Lego series, the Mortal Kombat series, and most notably, Cars 3. Driven to success. While in contract negotiations, Techland made it apparent that they wanted one stipulation over anything else to make sure Dying Light was as perfectly envisioned as they wanted it to be: full creative control. Techland would have the final say to develop what they want, with Warner Bros. Just kinda chilling out in the back seat. And Warner Bros. Were more than happy to accept this. So with funding and creative disputes no longer being a problem, there only lies the problem of console limitations. It would be hard for Techland to adhere to the PS3 and 360. I mean, they would have to dumb down a lot of features, but maybe, just maybe, if they work hard enough, they could. Never mind, the 8th generation is coming out. In fact, they're on track to release this by the time the PS4 and Xbox One makes heavy waves in the market. This is genuinely the best outcome for them to make this game. The stars could not have aligned more in their favor if they wanted to. So, in early 2012, Techland officially started development on their soon-to-be Golden Goose. With development going smoothly, it was time for both companies to announce Dying Light, and on May 23rd, 2013, they did just that, with numerous articles coming out discussing what's going to be in store. The hype would be huge surrounding Dying Light, just with them mentioning features never seen in their previous zombie franchise, like a natural day-night cycle, swimming, and most importantly, their parkour-like movement system. Hype would only grow from there though, as in E3 2013, a 12-minute pre-alpha video was published showing off an early mission from the full game, but with a few notable changes that I'll mention later on. Then interviews followed suit, as well as hands-on demos played by reporters. Even some established YouTubers were able to play up to a certain point of the game. Like, I'll never forget the undisputed goat of Let's Plays, the Rad Brad, playing this game and asking audience what their favorite zombie movie is, with him always saying, "I love the 2004 Dawn of the Dead by Zack Snyder, but my all-time favorite is Shaun of the Dead," and then somewhere adding in a, "What the fuck, Charles?" I know I'm getting sidetracked, but I just had to give flowers to the greatest channel that plays games while never getting into drama. This guy was my absolute inspiration to start a YouTube channel. Aside from that, one of the weirdest promotions that Techland did around this time was where they sold a one-of-a-kind pre-order copy of the game. Now, they've done controversial promos before, case in point the Dead Island Riptide one, when they sold that torso that upset European audiences, as well as YouTube, because they demonetized my video for that. But this time around, rather than a torso, Techland decided to sell a human-sized statue of an exclusive Dying Light zombie. You would also be able to get your face in the game, free parkour lessons, 2 Razer headphones, a trip to Techland Studios, 4 signed steel copies of the game, fucking night vision goggles, and a full-scale custom-built zombie-proof shelter, all of which comes at a low price of 250,000 euros. Now, shockingly, nobody bought this promo, but, you know, Techland, if the prizes are still available, maybe you could, you know, slide that zombie-proof safe house my way. Please? Anyways, 2014 was spent just making the entire game. Originally, Dying Light would have been released that year, but Techland announced a delay to further perfect the parkour aspect of this game. If they were gonna do this with a publisher who gave them leniency like this, they better do this game right. Soon though, they also announced that Dying Light could no longer be supported on the 7th generation, which although was a bummer and alienated some of the audience, it gave them full attention to work on the newly released generation. Then 2014 came and went, and at the beginning of 2015, on January 27th to be exact, Dying Light hit the market with an immense acclaim that is still being shown as of making this video. But why is that? Well, I guess we're gonna have to just jump right in with discussing Dying Light first starts off with you in a cargo plane, receiving a debrief from the global relief effort for what's to come. The year is 2015, and you're about to touch down in the fictional country known as Haran. Just a few weeks ago, the country had gone into quarantine due to a widespread virus that has, turn people into zombies, if you believe it or not. You heard that Haran's general Kadir Suleiman was hired by the GRE to help contain the virus, but after a botched evacuation which caused his brother to die, Kadir went rogue and stole some supposedly top secret files that may contain incomplete information on how to cure the virus. He's known to be involved with one of the 2 major factions that have risen since the outbreak, but it's unclear which one he's involved with. So to prevent anything from happening for the time being, the GRE has set up a countrywide jammer to cease all communication with the outside world. If the files file is released, it could supposedly cause the virus to mutate and become deadlier than before. So it's up to you, Operative Kyle Crane, voiced by none other than Sonic the Hedgehog himself, Roger Craig Smith, to make your way through the streets of Haran, find Suleiman, and stop him from releasing the files to the public. There's probably like an Epstein joke right here, but I don't know. You guys can make that in the comments. Alright, Kyle Crane, let's do this mission.
Fall back! Fall back! Come on! We have to move!
Let's get him off the street.
Get the door open!
After being saved by this woman and this guy named Amir, who shouldn't really have a name as he dies immediately, but trust me, he's somewhat important later on, you pass out and wake up in an unknown building belonging to one of the Haran's factions. It's been 3 days since the ambush and you haven't even gotten close to the file. Hell, you don't even know if this Suleiman person is here, somewhere else, or maybe even dead in a ditch. And on top of everything, you are bitten. So with time being of the essence, Crane searches around to find the leader of this unknown faction. What's cool about this first mission, and many more like it, is that Crane can freely talk to the residents around here, with the game never forcing you to converse with them. Some survivors might give you useful information about what this place is like, but seemingly everyone here is so scared of meeting a stranger like you that they won't even let you into certain places, or will straight up talk shit about you right in front of your face. It's small things like talking to other survivors of the faction that are apparent throughout Dying Light, and makes the world building just a little bit more immersive. Going up to room 190, the leader's room, you will come across not the leader. This is Rahim, and like most others, he fucking hates your guts. The first time you talk to him, he's very standoffish with anything you say. He'll throw a temper tantrum at you for wanting the GRE radio back because he thinks the group could use it more. It's not like he's a bad person or acting unbelievably shitty for no reason. He kinda just walked into the place after letting a survivor die for you, asking for your shit after being knocked out for 3 days. So if you want resources and the knowledge to find Suleiman, you're going to first need to gain this faction's trust. And what do you know? An opportunity soon arises as a runner is trapped with some zombies on the 13th floor of the tower. Going to the infected floor, you'll immediately see how devastating this virus truly is. Contrary to the upper floors, this place is a graveyard. Nearly all of the power is out, so the only light that comes to this concrete coffin is the blood-smeared windows. Below that are the remains of the mauled and the consumed, to the point where there's no chance to figure out how many were here. Well, you might be able to count at least one body, but hey, you know, Dying Light would never show off a dead child. But all in all, this environment is just amazing. With only 10 seconds into this cutscene, you can understand how deadly this infection could really be. And this makeshift graveyard is supposed to be a base for one of the largest factions in Haran. These people are sleeping only a few stories above God knows how many undead are actually down here. If anything were to happen to one of these floors, these people would become sitting ducks. Opening the door to the nearby apartment, you'll encounter the first of many zombies. Although the last time you kinda got bitched by them, this time around will be different. This fight will be tough though. It will be gruesome, but this battle will be legendary. Oh, it's dead. After doing some tutorial crafting, Crave saves the totally not bitten guy and returns to the top floor to meet with Rahim again. But this time, this baddie is here. Oh yeah, nicknamed the Scorpion by locals, Jade Aldemir is the complete opposite of the bitch-ass Jin from Dead Island. Oh my god, even thinking about Jin. Oh, you suck, Jin. Jade used to be one of the greatest kickboxers of all time in Haran. In fact, she probably is the greatest fighter here now because she has a near infinite amount of zombies to practice her karate or whatever the fuck she does. But because of her fighting skills, Jade quickly took the role of protecting others who could not protect themselves during this time. Since the outbreak, she is usually seen at the tower, either training new survivors to fight against the undead or plotting where runners need to go for scavenging. For many, Jade is seen as a guardian angel or even a spark of hope against the new dangers of the world. You could even come across a random girl in the game who explains how she keeps on going because of her hero. Even though Jade is a protector that many look up to, she is someone who understands what it means to make sacrifices for everyone in the tower. To her, it's better to lose one person if that means many more get saved in the process. It may not be well liked by other residents, hell, it's not even well liked by her with how she reacts to Amir's death, but these decisions must be made at a time like this. Now, losing people is something that nobody ever wants to experience, not even Jade herself. There are quite a few people who Jade is close to that can or has changed her life because of their death. Raheem is another person whom she holds near. Being the younger brother to the Scorpion, he is someone that Jade protects like no other. And you know, this overprotection might seem to be a little too much at first, but you all don't understand this little guy. Raheem is a punk. Because his older sister is a country-recognized fighting champion, he tries to fill in her shoes the best he can. But since he's not allowed to leave the tower under the command of Jade, he usually helps with just training new runners. If he's not doing that though, he's probably plotting some plans in the absolute dumbest ways possible. One of these plots that you briefly hear while going into the leader's room is trying to find a way to blow up a nest of some sort, but gets shut down immediately by Jade. Anyways, the next thing this pyromaniac tells you to do is to get changed and to meet him on the roof. So you do just that, and the reward you get is Raheem smashing the tower with a crane and then giving you the world's greatest pun.
Feel right at home. A crane on a crane.
Up here is where you'll not only learn how to survive, but to do it with absolute style. This next door tower was still under construction when the outbreak first hit, so with it being uninhabitable, it was quickly turned into a gym. Not like a Planet Fitness type of gym, but instead a place where you're taught parkour, Dying Light's magnum opus that lets it stand out from all of the zombie games. From falling all the way down into garbage that would definitely kill you if you tried this in real life, to jumping from ledge to ledge, you need to learn every aspect of parkouring so you don't end up like Amir. Being able to fight against the zombies is one thing, but Dying Light emphasizes the use of free flow movement. With the country being cluttered by buildings and roaming freaks of nature, it's important to be able to move throughout Haran without being trapped every moment. Since Cranes has never done this before, he's not the greatest parkourer as of right now. Even Raheem backs this up with the most 2015 insult you could ever imagine.
Not bad. For a new.
After a few minutes of just monkeying around, you make your way back to the main tower, but along the way, Crane almost dies.
What's happening to me? Shit. Shit. Oh,
Crane,
shit.
talk to me. What's going on?
Something went wrong. Raheem, what just happened to me?
Oh shit. I bet you're having your first seizure. Just get back over here.
One of the side effects of this infection is a seizure, a somewhat gentle reminder that you're about to turn. To counteract your eventual demise, Raheem tells you that you must go see Dr. Zare to get one of your doses of antizin. It's kind of like Zombrex from Dead Rising, where you must take it after some time, if the Zombrex was nothing more than a plot device that's used briefly in the story and nowhere else. To meet Dr. Zare, you have to leave the tower and go to a nearby camp, finally giving you the taste of Haran's open world. Dr. Zare is located at the community court holed up in a scientific trailer. The entire camp here is adamant on protecting Zare, and for good reason too. Although he's a bit all over the place with just about everything, he has a pretty good understanding of what this disease is. Unlike the Kuru in Dead Island, which was a prion and not a virus, thank you everybody for telling me that in my last video, the Haran virus is in fact a virus. More notably, it is a mutation of rabies, a trope that you'd commonly see in other pieces of zombie media. Once infected, the person will have, you know, some time to turn. It's never clearly stated how long someone has, and it's very inconsistent throughout the rest of the story, but hey, it doesn't matter. The only way to stop this infection is by antizin, but if you are caught lacking with it, you might as well just start mindlessly roaming the streets. or worse. Antizin is by far the hottest commodity in Haran. You know it, Zara knows it, and even the leader of this small camp, Spike, knows it. In fact, he tells you that the tower's actual leader is going out on a scavenger run later in the night, which, unbeknownst to Crane, can be extremely dangerous. To aid on the scavenging run, Spike sends you out to set up a few traps. This is kind of like the end of the tutorial for the game. It shows you how to use throwables at the zombies, what clearing out and using the safe houses are like. Anyways, you contact the GRE, letting them know what Zara is up to, and they instruct you to find a way to monitor his research. Along the way of setting up these traps, the district's power shuts off. This causes you to go over to a nearby substation to restart the power. However, once there, you're greeted with one of the many new special infected that make Dying Light so much different than its predecessor.
Fuck, what is this?
This is the Goon. God, that word has become so tainted. I miss the days when Goon meant this type of zombie, or the enemies you fight in Lego Batman, not this. Anyways, similar to the Thug, the Goon is a tanky type of enemy. It requires many melee hits before this giant beast could be taken down, especially this early on in the game. Its main form of attack is by using its rebar club, where it can swing in a near 360-degree arc, or by slamming it onto the ground, both of which will knock you onto the ground. Oh, and this game isn't like Dead Island. If you get knocked on the ground, these zombies will keep going after you. It can also smack you with its hand as a quick attack, so the best way of taking down these beasts is by hitting it a few times and then creating space. Or just shoot it in the face like 2 times max. It's kind of funny how quick they fall if you have a gun. Once restoring power, you make it back to the nearby safe house to wait out the approaching deadly night that actually never comes if you decide to free roam instead. You then head back to the tower where you and Jade meet up with the leader, Brecken. Brecken is very obviously not Suleiman. I know, it's very hard to tell with this side-by-side comparison. Instead, he's an Australian parkour instructor who is Australian, and he instructs parkour. Look, he shows up for maybe 10 minutes in the entire game, and he has no real plot points except for this mission and the time where he punches a TV. Apparently, the scavenge from last night was a total failure, leaving many dead or injured. So to get on his good side, you volunteer to go on a run to nearby airdrops to look for some antizin. With that, Brecken immediately trusts you and sends you off to look for supplies. Well, not before you tell the GRE about your plan to climb the ranks within the tower. This part of the mission is actually what we saw from the gameplay footage review all the way back in E3. Here, you have to search for airdrops that have already been looted by bandits or are in the process of being looted, making the search futile. One last airdrop is sent out at the far side of town, where Crane has to reach it before the light dies. Wow, that's like the title of the game here. The comparison between the gameplay reveal and this is very similar, almost identical, with the exception of a few minor things like slight map changes. However, there is one major difference that completely stands out in the gameplay reveal, and that is when you do this little side mission. Now, you're supposed to take a beeline to the airdrop to get the supplies before anyone else can, but on your way, you can encounter a screaming child who is trapped in a house with her undead dad. And here's where the difference takes place.
Hey, love. What are you doing in here?
You have to go. My daddy's sick and really angry and he'll hurt you.
Hey, honey. Hey, what are you doing in here?
You have to go, mister. My daddy's sick and really angry, and I'll hurt you.
First of all, it's cool that this game has these, like, attachable mini side missions within the main story. It provides more insight to what you do in this world and how you affect others, but oh my golly gee, guys, Kyle Crane was originally voiced by Matthew Wolf, aka Brecken. Even Jade's voice sounds less defined than it does in the main game. I can't find much about how Matthew Wolf landed the role of Crane or when Roger Craig Smith took over. For all we know, and most likely is the case, Wolf was a stand-in actor to play Crane for the gameplay reveal. Techland probably wanted to focus more on the gameplay aesthetic rather than the story or the characters, so Wolf was just a placeholder for what's to come. Like I said though, nothing is confirmed. I can't find any official articles or interviews that explain this, but it's really cool to see such major changes like this upon the final release. Anyways, Crane makes it over to the airdrop right before nightfall, and luckily enough, the drop has been left unscathed. Due to the sun setting, the bandits most likely decided to head home out of fear of whatever is out there. As Crane gets to the antizin, he contacts the GRE, where they tell him to throw away the entire batch. Enraged, Crane demands answers, only for the doc on the radio to tell him to do what he's told. The seeds of doubt against this definitely secretive organization have been planted, but as the good lapdog that he is, Crane obliges and burns most of the vaccines. But keep in mind this one antizin he stores, by the way, you know, just like cram that shit right in the back of your brain. As Crane informs the tower about the quote-unquote already scavenged airdrop, he hears some rustling about. Night has finally come, and the monsters that threaten the lives of many here are out to feast. As Crane looks for what's making all that noise, he comes across...
Heard me.
That's right, baby, the volatiles are here. These terrifying freaks of nature are completely weak against UV rays, but the sun is gone, and now you're weak against them. These undead nightmares will chase you down in packs, climb wherever you climb, and will tear you from limb to limb before you could even say, "Help me, Samby." They are brutal, relentless, and even just taking down one of them is nearly an impossible achievement at this stage of the game. The best thing that you can do is run. So, you run. You haul ass without looking behind you. As you know, taking even that simple second to look back will end with your demise. But even going at the fastest pace that you can might not even be fast enough to outrun the volatiles. With the blink of an eye, you now know just how scary the night can be, and how so many have fallen within Haran. You know why each camp has these UV lights, as without them, these survivors would be nothing more than fresh meat for the volatiles. With the inclusion of these beasts, the mission to recover Suleiman's stolen files is more drastic than ever, making the story so... I need to be honest, guys. Dying Light's story is not good. Like, I don't know what it is with Techland and story writing, but it's pretty common knowledge that Dying Light's campaign is by far the weakest link of the game. Granted, the story is pretty engaging, I guess, up until this point, especially with showing off the new world Crane has been thrust into, you know, even if there is a good level of corniness in the dialogue.
Not bad. For a new...
But soon enough, the story's pacing becomes light speed fast with major loopholes in the way. Really, it gets to the point sooner rather than later where you just stop caring about what's happening as it becomes that of an afterthought. I'll talk more about it as I go on with the story, but I just wanted y'all to make sure of what to expect if you've never played this game before. So, at the tower, everybody's upset about the failed scavenging run, people were in dire need of Antizin, or else things can get pretty deadly quickly. With no other options, Brecken turns to buying supplies from the bandit leader, Rice. This guy's kinda like the Voldemort of Haran. Nobody even wants to meet him, let alone deal with him. But as a way to potentially discover if Rice is Suleiman, Crane volunteers to meet with the faction. Pleased by this, Brecken gives you the coolest Predator 1 dap-up you've ever seen in this game.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
At Rice's base, you enter the stronghold to spark up a deal. But once you go through the gate, you're met with the brutal introduction of the game's bloodthirsty antagonist.
Haven't I seen you somewhere before?
Yeah, that's right. This is Tahir. You might remember him from the ambush at the beginning of the cutscene. Well, he's the right-hand man to Rice, and yeah, that's kind of it. So, yeah, he's not the bloodthirsty antagonist I was referring to. This dude has, like, zero personality throughout the entire game. The real antagonist I was talking about is Rice.
Now I give you a choice. Very simple. Your right hand or your left?
Left.
Was that my left or your left?
Of course, being the same guy you're after, Rice is someone who just wants to watch the world burn. After the initial outbreak, he put together a group of bandits consisting of ex-army members to go around and rule the quarantine zone with an iron fist. They're ordered to steal from other groups and kill whomever they want. And being able to do whatever he wants, Rice gets to do whatever he wants, even if that means killing his own people if they dare step an inch out of line. There isn't a single soul within Haran that doesn't fear this man. Recognizing just how useful you can be, Rice allows the trade to happen as long as you become his lapdog in a way. He instructs you to meet with the group's dispatch operator Kareem to get your first assignment as a new member of the bandits. Low-key, Kareem should have been what Tahir is, as you not only get much more interaction with this guy, but certain quest moments just make him far better of a character than Tahir could ever be.
An American. I have an uncle there. Lives in Texas. You from Texas? You a cowboy?
I'm from Chicago.
Hey, does anyone want to come over to my house and... Oh, I forgot! You can't come to my house, because no one can ever come to my house, because I live in a middle place, between world and time! I'm just kidding, guys. I live in the old city of Chicago.
Anyhow, Kareem instructs you to go to a few radio towers to do some hacking shit or whatever, so that way communication within the quarantine zone can be restored.
Hey, wait a minute, Scrakes. Hi, by the way, I'm every single person watching this video. But wait a minute, wouldn't restoring the radio frequency allow Rice to bypass that jammer that the GRE placed and told you about at the beginning of the game?
Well, yeah, but... Crane goes to the first tower, and before he can start climbing it, he's met with Techland's newer style of the Special Infected. This is the Toad, or more commonly known as the average Red Dead 2 roleplayer.
Sit on the ground before I make you sit on the ground. Sit on the ground before I make you sit down. Get over here. Sit on the ground before I make you sit down.
Similar to the floater, this creature is known to spit out bile towards you from a long range. However, this enemy is far more agile, as it can easily hop away from the player to create space or even onto different buildings. Where it excels in agility though, it lacks in health, as this enemy can be easily taken down within a couple of hits. So the best thing to do is take it down first when facing a horde. Other than that, they're pretty easy to face on a one-on-one scale. Climbing the tower to reach the power? Yo, that was some bars, bro. Oh my god. I am so white. Oh, that sucked. You find that this shit has already been ransacked. So then you go over to another tower located on the other side of the slums, and luckily that place is guarded by some people who pay up to Rice. With everything intact here, you successfully connect the radio waves, and bada bing bada boom, the radios work again. This not only helps out Rice with his plans, but also the tower too, with dispatching runners to scavenge more areas. But even with this monumental work done, Rice is not finished with you yet. Oh no, 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 you're still of use to him.
Do you live by your own rules, Crane? Or are you merely someone else's puppet? I believe I know the answer. Talk to Kareem before I decide you are no longer worth the trouble.
You're then instructed with your next task, and that is to threaten some groups and steal their money. Typical things that Crane probably would have already seen in Chicago. The first stop happens and everything goes pretty smoothly. However, on your way to the second pickup, you're met with this other new zombie. This is the bomber, and it explodes. Yeah, it does exactly what the Suicider did in Dead Island, to the point where it looks bloated, you can hear it beg for its life, and if you provoke it or hit it in any way, then...
Train go boom.
The only thing that confuses me is how Crane survives this explosion. I mean, this locker looks about as safe as hiding in a fridge within a nuclear explosion. But I digress. Crane picks up the money after protecting the fishing village from a horde. He even collects a third payment from a nearby local village. All is pretty well and good. That is, until problem arises when Crane is on his way to drop off the payments.
Crane, do you copy?
I copy. What's wrong?
Someone's turned on the 18th floor. We're doing our best to contain the situation, but we can't sugarcoat this, Crane. We need answers in right fucking now.
Rise has promised me 2 crates, Brecken. 2 crates. I'm doing this shit as fast as I can, I swear.
Just hurry, please.
Oh my gosh, an outbreak happens in the tower. You need to get back there with the answers in, or at least clear out the infected. Even the music is ramped up to this tense score. You need to help them out. So off you go to complete yet another task by Kareem by killing a rogue survivor, then potentially clear out a couple of safe houses. And, you know, maybe dropkick a few zombies for fun. Ooh, you see this parkour skills? Maybe I should do a parkour challenge just for the hell of it. Oh, so close. I really messed up that beginning climb, but I kind of was catching up in the end. In fact, if we were to retry it... Oh, right, the tower! You head back to the tower to clear out the outbreak on the 18th floor. Except, you can't actually head to the 18th floor as the game prevents you from doing so. Great game design, I guess. Tried to build up all this tension with the story and the climactic score, and for what? Rather, you're meant to go back to Rice's base to pick up the Antizin, but being the scumbag that he is, Rice doesn't live up to his end of the bargain. Instead of giving a few crates of the suppressant that he promised, he offers you 5 vials, which is not going to help anyone out in a long-term basis. He also berates you for being a little beta bitch boy who follows the orders of anyone around you, while simultaneously shooting his own man. There's a lesson here, but I'm not sure what it is. Rice does present you with one final offer though. He will give you those crates of Antizin for the exchange of sending the Scorpion Jade Aldemir to a pit to fight the zombies to the death.
What? No, forget it. I'm not doing it.
I hear no conviction in your voice, Crane. You have not yet made your choice, I can tell. Will you be a dog and save the dwellers of the tower? Or will you be a man and save the maiden?
Wow. What a dilemma. Should you follow the orders blindly, which might prove to be ineffective in the end, or should you do your own thing? Decisions, Crane. Oh, wait, I know what you can do. Why don't you go ahead and call the GRE so they can tell you what to do?
Crane here.
Report.
Look, I'm no longer cooperating with Rise. He wanted me to kidnap Jade Aldemir and dump her with him so he can make her fight in his pit.
Yes, and? Was that it?
What do you mean, was that it? I'm not a fucking human trafficker.
You seem to have forgotten how much is riding on this file, Crane. If Rise wants one girl, then give her to him. You'll be there to keep an eye on her, won't you?
What the fuck kind of humanitarian outfit are you guys? And for that matter, if this project file can save the world, why keep it a fucking secret?
We're not paying you to be insubordinate, Crane. Get this done.
Fuck you, asshole.
At the tower, things couldn't be any worse. You're finally allowed to go up the elevator, but the entire 18th floor has been overrun and barricaded off. You'll never be allowed to go back down there throughout the rest of the game, as who knows how many zombies are down there. With the outbreak, the tower leaders are taking it hard. Jade is emotional while trying to help the survivors regroup on the 19th floor. Brecken is punching a TV. Okay, thank you, Brecken. And Raheem is getting fucking drunk. Yeah, Raheem, that's some Chad shit. We love drinking on a roof. All you need now is some car keys. Ah ha ha ha. Please drink responsibly. Raheem goes on a drunken ramble explaining how you and he are like two peas in a pod. Like Sonic and Knuckles. Like fucking George Pickens and Sedarius Lamb. And because you two are so tight, he explains a plan that he's been coming up with since the start of the story. You see, there's a nearby tower that's home to many volatiles. They'll rest up there during the day so they can hunt around for prey at night. With this huge volatile nest, running for supplies is extremely dangerous at night. But if it were to get blown up, wink wink, then our night run would be much more safe. But they sigh. There's no explosives in sight. Gosh, if only we had some bombs. Anyways, though, Raheem gives some exposition about how he was supposed to move out of the country mere days before the outbreak, how he wanted to live his life outside of Haran, blah blah blah. It's just an exposition dump. And after that's all done, you call up the GRE to demand some antizin drops be put down next to the tower. They tell you to go fuck yourself and how they're having conflict with the Ministry of Defense, and they also remind you to just follow the deal with Rice to get closer to the file. So all things considered, the tower is in a really rough shape, but then all of a sudden,
Crane, this is Jade. Do you copy?
Loud and clear, what can I do for you?
I don't know how much time we have, so the short version. I need your help.
Ooh, golly gee. Jade found some unknown thing at Rice's outpost in the school. I wonder what that can be.
God, Crane, you're such an oaf. Why don't you just stick your head out the door and shout, "Here we are, come get us"?
Hey, sometimes there's nothing wrong with the direct approach.
Holy shit.
Oh wow, it's some explosives! I was just talking about how we needed them! What a fastly paced convenient! As Crane leaves the now liberated school, he comes across a new type of infected. This is the Bolter. I forgot to mention that you see it after taking over the first safe house. As a variant of the volatile, this creature only comes out at night, and if it sees you, it kind of just, you know, it just runs away. It doesn't really play a huge role in this game outside of this next mission, in all honesty. But hey, at least the design for it is killer. Not like killer as in a volatile, because these things will not kill you, but it's a good design. Anyways, you return back to the tower to tell Raheem of your findings. He's ecstatic that you were able to find the bombs that quickly, to the point where he and a guy named Omar are already planning to set the explosives. Raheem, you can't do that. You're just a teenage dirtbag who probably listens to Iron Maiden. If you went out there, you would get killed, so don't do it. Don't go out there the second I turn my back, okay? Crane then goes over to meet with Dr. Zara about the Bolter strain of infected. Zara asks you to go get a sample of it for some testing, so you embark on the most difficult mission Dying Light has to offer. Is what I would say if I'm lying. This mission is laughably easy. Just shoot a Bolter one time at night, and you're finished faster than I got nothing, dude. These analogies cannot all be winners. Crane returns to Dr. Zare, and he's all like, "Crane, this is Dr. Camden on the radio. He's stuck in the quarantine part of the city in an actual lab type shit. Low-key, he's just a forgettable version of me, but he's chill, okay? Anywho, the sample you found is pretty cool. It can create fire weapon mods for your weapons, but it's also a step forward into making the cure. I don't want to explain how, and I don't have my lab shit with me to make the cure, and I can't just tell Camden about all this because that's just too much to talk about. So you're gonna have to bring the data to him in the city." And Crane's all like, God, that hurt my throat. And Crane's all like, Yeah, man, I got you. Anyways, all is well so far. A cure is on the horizon with this newfound data. Soon enough, the tower won't be fighting every day for some antizin. Even the objective with Rice would become obsolete, as a cure would solve the problem of the man-eating society collapsing virus. Things are looking up, but then Raheem gives you a call.
Hey, Crane, you there? Omar and I went to blow up that nest.
Wait, you what? Fucking hell, Raheem, that was my job!
Oh, right, because you're more qualified to handle explosives than I am. You're just a goddamn tourist. But listen, we messed up. Messed up bad.
Alright, what happened? Where are you?
We're on the overpass, and it's all going to shit.
Listen, head to the train yard. Find a place to hide. I'm on my way.
Omar, behind you! Behind you!
Raheem! Raheem!
Raheem, buddy, can you come over here for a second? Here, let me put my hand on your shoulder. Are you just the Dying Light version of Jin? I mean, let's be real here. At least Jin could be a personal pack rat, but you're just a naive kid who thinks he's the main character. And then when you snuck out on a dumbass suicide mission, you get fucked up immediately? What use are you to the story other than being a poor plot device? Regardless, Raheem tells you to hurry up as he sounds like the infected completely ravaged him, so you rush towards him with the highest rate music playing in the background. You kill some zombies along the way and do some parkour on the rooftops. Oh, there's a collectible right here. Hey, that parkour was actually kind of fun. Let's do another parkour challenge. Maybe you can try a combat challenge too. Those are always chaotic. Wow, this game is just so fun. You can easily get so sidetracked, and oh my god, that's right, there's supposed to be a tense moment. You find Raheem in a nearby warehouse where he's getting pinned down by a bunch of infected. After clearing out the infected, you get hit with another Toad introduction. I don't know why there's a cutscene for this one. The special infected, it's not even a mini boss though. It just dies immediately. Why did this cutscene have to exist? But then after that, you encounter Raheem. He's badly injured from the attack, and worst of all, he's already set off the explosives timers. So with just a few minutes left to carry out the mission, and this time it's actually time sensitive, you are set off to the nearby tower to explode the volatile nest. Ooh, that was so badass. Watching that tower go down reminds me of that one time years ago, but the way it collapsed, it was just so badass. I wonder if Raheem saw that.
Come on. Raheem! It's me, kid. I did it! God. Raheem! Oh, you should have seen it. Oh, God. The whole damn building came down. Oh, shit! No, Raheem, stop! Raheem, it's me! It's me, kid, it's Crane! Oh, Jesus! Raheem, stop! That's a fucking bite wound. You goddamn stupid fucking kid! Oh, God. Jade.
Oh. Rest in peace, Raheem. You may have had really little screen time to the point where you're just kinda there, and you may have been nothing more than a plot device for this game's main conflict to arise. There's no but here. Back at the tower, you talk to Brecken about Raheem's death. With everything that just happened to the faction, the death of someone this influential is bound to destroy all morale here. But as long as Jade doesn't find out off the bat, emotions won't get the best of her.
I trusted him. I trusted him with those explosives. God, maybe if I didn't leave him there, he'd still be alive. Oh no. Jade.
Jade, wait.
Jade, god damn it.
Just give her time. She needs to grieve.
Okay, as long as we still have the data for this potential cure, all should be fine.
Whoa. Sarah. Shit! Get down there! We can't let them take him.
Okay, well, as long as a 7-foot-tall goth baddie doesn't show up, we should be completely fine. No? Alright then. To get revenge on the attack on the school, Rice has set out a hit squad to wreak havoc on the tower, while also kidnapping Dr. Zare. At the encampment, you found out from a dying survivor that Rice's men have taken Zare to the one apartment complex where you once tried to negotiate with the bandit leader. So arriving at the complex, you do some parkour to make your way inside and shoot your way down to the garage area. Along the way, Crane contacts the GRE about what's been happening between both factions. The only problem with this check-in though is that the GRE doesn't pick up.
Crane here. I could really use some GRE support right now.
That's too bad, Agent Crane. This is the Ministry of Defense.
The fuck? What the hell's going on? What happened to the GRE?
The global relief effort's position here has been diminished. We are in charge now, and we have declared Harran a Code 1 target zone.
Wait. Just hang on. You can't just carpet bomb this place. There are still hundreds of innocent people in here. Maybe thousands.
Irrelevant. We're doing this to protect billions of lives. Surely you can understand that.
Okay, just listen. There's this scientist in here named Zara, and he's been doing research on a cure, and he's really close. I've seen the research. If you bomb the city, just...
Acknowledged. The chances of one scientist in a wrecked city coming up with useful results are negligible at best, but... you have 48 hours.
This is a mega bummer. I don't really have much to say about this right now, but the Ministry does become the teeniest bit important in a little while later. Back to saving Zare, this complex seems very lightly guarded, all things considered. You find Zare at the tail end of the basement garage, safe and sound, only it was all a trap. Once Zare tells you that he gave the data to Jade, Rice and his men completely ambush you. Oh, hey Tahir. You guys remember Tahir? Yeah, I wonder what he has to say about all this.
With pleasure. And these two? What should we do with them?
Okay, that's cool. He doesn't show up until his boss fight hours down the line, by the way. So, bye Tahir. With the ambush in mind, Rice basically tells you how bad of a guy he is by telling his men to go after Jade. And if you couldn't tell how bad he really is, he just stabs Zare in the leg for whatever reason, and then he sends you to the pit. You
take Crane to the pit.
You wake up in a pit. However, it's just not any pit. It's a dangerous pit. Here, Rice confronts you about being the biggest snake in the grass, the biggest liar in a city full of, well, liars. It's obvious he found out who you truly are, and to exterminate you in the most stylish way possible. Rice is forcing you to fight to the death in an arena surrounded by hundreds of the living and undead. I wish Techland did more with this arena, as not only does the pit itself look so cool, being stranded in a giant hole full of bare weapons, makeshift spikes, and surrounded by chanting bandits is so aesthetically memorable. But then you have to survive wave after wave of the undead that come out of the various shipping containers laid throughout the ground. This would be a perfect area for people to just survive until they couldn't in a game like this. But you never return to this pit, at least to survive against the infected like this ever again. Like, all in all, I kind of wish that Techland included a wave-based survival here, as they did with Dead Island 1. As you survive the first few waves of the infected, Rice taunts you by giving you manageable supplies like a medkit and a machete. However, the normal zombies here are the least of your concern, as this is where you're introduced to the most fearsome special infected this game has to offer. This is the Demolisher. It's kind of like the Ram from Dead Island, if the Ram was 20 feet tall, mutated to no end, and was given more steroids than the Liver King has ever taken. This behemoth will charge headfirst at you, completely laying you out like he's Ray motherfucking Lewis. When he's not charging at you though, he's either swinging his giant jerk-off arm or throwing literal boulders at you. If he couldn't be any more dangerous, this Demolisher also has a huge layer of SWAT armor guarding its body, so its head, torso, and back need to be chipped away for some time until you're finally able to take the beast down. This thing, from the way it looks to how it attacks, is so terrifying. I wouldn't even doubt if the Demolisher could solo Leon Kennedy, and this guy knows how to parry a car. As you defeat the boss, Rice comes down to give you a congratulatory monologue to Crane, and how else can he congratulate you by exposing your secret of being a GRE operative? If things couldn't get worse with this revelation, Rice informs one of his goons to go ahead and release the files. This would be a catastrophic moment, but Rice lets you in on another secret that he knows. This file isn't about an unfinished cure. There's no danger of releasing information about something that could cause the virus to mutate, as there's no information that could cause the virus to mutate. Rather, the information Rice got was how the GRE created this in the first place, and how they were planning on selling this as a weapon to the highest bidder. He taunts you for being nothing more than a lapdog, a follower who will do nothing but whatever somebody tells you, and how blindly following people that tell you what to do will end up with others being killed. You're just a sheep in a den full of shepherds, or some shit. As Rice turns around to instruct the men to kill you, Crane does the most unnecessary slow motion action scene that you would probably see from something like The Matrix. Boom, high kick, swish, swing, chopping noise, pow, pow, pow. I don't really know why Crane doesn't just kill off Rice right here now, but oh well, a hand chop is cool too. As Crane tries to escape, Zare gets stabbed in the heart, which effectively kills the man, and Rice lets out a badass war cry. Then Crane runs from about 500 bullets flying at him at once, has an infection seizure, and dies. Well, he doesn't actually die, but saying this here adds a little bit more drama to what I'm saying. After some time though, Crane wakes up at the ferry survivor camp all the way across the map. Apparently Brecken saved him from the seizure, and then tells Crane that he needs to find Jane in the quarantine zone known as Old Town. And then, apart from a few conversations on the radio, this is the last time Brecken is shown in the story. You would think he would have more screen time as he's the tower leader and all, but no. Once the second act starts, he'll be seen just as much as Raheem rotting in that one train. To get to Old Town, Crane must talk to the saviors, and no, they're not like the saviors from The Walking Dead. Instead, they're a more boring group that just smuggles people to and from Old Town in the sewers, and surprise, surprise, the group that had no context before becomes hostile to Crane midway through the journey as a way to get back on a Furious Rice's good side. The only real memorable thing about this group that will actually never show up through the rest of this game is the near pitiful guide through the sewers before they betray you. This guy takes about 2 hours to walk 20 steps and then tells you to piss off. Once you fight your way through the sewers though, you're finally introduced to the second and my personal favorite open world area, Old Town.
Okay, here goes nothing. Jade, it's Crane. Do you copy? Jade, it's Crane. Can you hear me? Damn it. All right. It's time for some local talent. Troy, this is Crane. Do you copy?
Crane? It's great to hear from you. What can I help you with?
Yeah, I'm in your neck of the woods now, and I'd love to put our heads together. Where can I find you?
You're here? In the Zero? Fantastic. Have you seen a pair of towers, one taller than the other, with scaffolding around them? We call that our loft. Head that way, and we'll be waiting.
This contaminated city is where vertical movements shine. Inspired by Mediterranean cities, this place is home to many multi-story, compact, and wealthy buildings. Traveling higher up is not only really fun to do, but also really necessary. The streets below are chock full of zombies standing from shoulder to shoulder, and these zombies are not like the ones from the slums. These ones here are far stronger, tougher, and more mutated, so using your crummy lead pipe that you impaled in a slub zombie isn't going to do shit against these ones. The first thing Crane does upon arriving to this new area is go to a nearby tower to meet with a group of friendly survivors. I forgot to mention these people. These are the Embers, and this is their leader Troy. She actually introduces herself to thank you early in the game, like soon after turning on the communication towers, but I kind of just forgot to mention it. Big whoop, you want to fight about it? I don't even want to talk much about this group, to be honest. Troy and the Embers is like Brecken in the tower, but more forgettable and only in this area. I mean, to be fair, Troy has a cool character design, but this design doesn't translate to her personality, as I can't tell a thing about her. Regardless though, while at the base, Troy gets you into contact with a still very upset Jade. Crane lets her know that all this time you are a GRE agent, and even though this understandably upsets Jade, it really shouldn't matter. The Ministry of Defense is breathing down Haran's neck with a promise of a firebomb, so Dr. Camden is going to need that data as soon as possible. Like my Tinder match from last week, Jade still ghosts Crane, and after a short tour around the city, she's nowhere to be found. However, what is found is a news story that has just been published worldwide. In it, the GRE is exposed for for their literal war crimes, but that is overshadowed by the story of the supposed last survivor of Haran making his way out of the country. With the fabricated news, the Ministry of Defense has all the reason to firebomb the quarantine zone, wiping out everything in the process. That's kind of why the jets were flying around, if you couldn't tell. I know, I'm pretty smart and literate from connecting the dots here. You know, not to brag or anything, but I did spend 4 years and tens of thousands of dollars at university to become this media literate. With the Ministry going forth with this lie, they turned the countrywide jammers back on, so it's up to you and the Embers to find a way to stop the firebombing and to save Haran in some Mission Impossible type shit. The first thing you guys do is go to a nearby apartment to set it ablaze, but it's not in like the sense of blowing up a tower where some twerp runs off to become the hero of the night only to fold immediately under pressure. This explosion will be planned, coordinated, and made sure the world knows that it was the work of actual people. Kinda like the time that CeeLo Green's phone exploded in his face. The plan is to ignite certain rooms of the building to create a frowny face out of the fire. And to do this, Crane and this one guy, his name is Michael aside from this one mission and the fact that he wants to bone the hairless mole rat himself, this guy is just kinda existent, I guess, must set off some gas stoves while placing out some plastic explosives. And when the time is right, you must activate the detonator and allow the explosion to happen all at once. And that's pretty easy peasy lemonade, or however the phrase goes. This mission is pretty cool. The tight quarters in this building make it so that parkour is just not an option. It's very easy to get overwhelmed and taken out within seconds, even if you're on the normal difficulty. The place is very dark and grim, and you get a bit of an understanding of just how this virus could have easily spread, as there's no way anybody could have survived in a place like this. But by far the best part of this mission is this cutscene.
Is that a child crying? Fuck, what is this?
This is the Screamer, and yes, it's a motherfucking child zombie? Yeah, that's right, suck my nuts, No More Room in Hell 2. Oh, you guys want to appeal to a casual audience, and so you don't want to include a feature that was already in the first game? But yet you can shoot this bitch in the face if you want, and still Dying Light has consistently 10 times the player count compared to y'all at all times. Fun fact, even though this is the official introduction of the last special infected of the game, this isn't the first time you fight it. Side missions like Legless Spider have scripted moments where you take them on in a store. This has nothing to do with anything. I just thought it was a really cool fact that they were here before officially getting introduced to the, did I say introduced? Anyways, bombs get planted, you make your great escape, and train goes boom. You all have successfully created a message to tell the outside world that there are still survivors in the zone. But unfortunately, that all goes awry as the Ministry sends out some jets to blow the tower into rubble. Not all is lost, however, as one person was able to see the message before the Ministry tampered, Jade. She calls up Crane to forgive you for what has happened. She finally trusts Crane and knows that he's here to make sure that all the people within Haran are safe, and now she wants to meet up with Crane in a specific place within Old Town to discuss giving the data over to Dr. Camden, so that way the cure can be created once and for all. But there's a problem.
God. Jade! Jade! Troy, this is Crane. Rise has taken Jade. He has her in some museum somewhere. Do you know what he's talking about?
Museum, yes. Rise is using it as his headquarters. Crane, you can't go there. That place was built as a fortress. You'd be walking into a massive trap.
No, it's not subtle enough to be a trap. But there's gotta be a way to sneak in, right? I mean, some way to surprise him?
Let me think. Tariq, maybe? He's the museum's curator. He should know something about the dungeons hidden beneath the fortress.
Great, I'll talk to him.
Alright, there's a building with a rooftop garden. You'll find Tariq there.
Now, you can't just waltz right into this museum all willy-nilly and not expect to get shot up. You'll probably be safer in that one Minecraft video where this neckbeard roleplays being in a terrorist attack at school. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Why did he think this is a good video to make? Anyways, a local curator informs Crane that the best way to enter is through the flooded network beneath the museum. Although the place is filled to the brim with icky, gross water, this would be the best way to enter without getting noticed by Rice's men. So making your way through the rundown architecture, you confront Rice.
I don't negotiate with assholes, Rice. I get out of here with Jade, or I take your other hand too. Your choice!
Iconic line, Sonic the Hedgehog. Through the museum, you have to battle some thugs, as well as some ginormous hordes of zombies that not even a fraction of Dead Island can show at one time, and soon enough, you finally come across a seemingly injured Jade. She tries to say that everything is fine.
I'll be right as rain.
You're what?
A lady can't go without coffee these days. It's unthinkable. If someone would just have a bloody wedding, then I could get a cup of coffee.
But like a snake taunting its prey, Rice is here to tell you that everything is not, in fact, fine. You see, he knows just about every little plan that you're up to, every single plot that you've been doing throughout this game. And that is because of those antenna towers that you tapped the communication through all the way back in the beginning of the game. He knows about the potential cure, and he's taken the data that Jade once had that should be given over to Dr. Camden. And if things aren't bad enough, after taking care of some zombies that Rice sent after you, he reveals that Jade is actually bitten. Wait. Remember that cutscene from long ago? The one that I told you to keep in the back of your minds? The one where Crane keeps a vial of antizin after destroying an entire crate before nightfall? Yeah! That was a pretty cool cutscene. It seems as if Crane didn't keep this in the back of his mind though, as the vial is never brought up again. Rather, Rice, being the Mother Teresa that he's so known for, just throws Crane a freshly new antizin injector. And after Crane suffers another plot convenience seizure, Rice gives Crane the ultimate, well, ultimatum. Either he can inject the antizin into himself so he can live another day, or give it to Jade so she can continue the fight. Low-key, this entire dilemma would have been thrown right out of the window had Crane remembered about that huge plot hole of a cutscene at the beginning of the game. But rather, nothing happened, so why did he keep that vial in the first place? Whatever though, Jade tells Crane that he should self-inject the antizin, and after running through some trippy PT levels of repeating rooms, you're met with the weirdest segment of Dying Light's campaign. In this, you very slowly jump around different parts of your mind that revolve around past events of what has already happened in the game. As you do so, Jade talks about how she fights physically as the Scorpion, but also mentally through her numerous hardships. She tells you about the losses throughout the main story and how that caused her to break down and take matters into her own hands. It's very obvious that she likes you, but not as much as her brother. She whipped her dick out and said damn like Chris Tucker, and she pulls her wiener out as she's— I'm sorry, my one homeboy Dumpy has been getting me to listen to Akimbos, and Loki, his crazy lyrics are still on my mind. Regardless, her hardships from her losses turn into acceptance as she pulls a John Cena and declares that her time is finally up. The final cutscene in this trippy event ends with a near zombified Jade giving Crane the antizin shot. And once again, Crane was unable to make the final decision himself. This entire scene is interesting to say the least. I know that's what like every student says when they're tasked with giving the broadest discussion about a topic they didn't research before, but I have no other way of putting this. The entire environment is something that you would see out of a Black Ops 3 campaign while in that confusing ass frozen forest. I mean, everything within here does look cool, don't get me wrong. I like going through the disjointed tower turned school that has a very neat Half-Life Easter egg. I like parkouring the different areas, especially the upside down highway and scattered metal tower. And I like Jade's speech. It actually gives a lot more lore about who she is that you would not get from other characters like Brecken. Actually, what is Brecken up to while all this is going down?
I'm gonna fart, don't tell anybody. Oh god, that's terrible. I hope the microphone didn't pick that up.
Overall, I enjoy the creativity Techland implemented to make this exposition dump not feel as much of a drag if this was just a singular cutscene. This part definitely stands out and is pretty fun to go through for the first time playing. I don't know about everyone else, but every single time I replay this game, this segment is by far the most boring. There is zero replayability value as the creative shock value of this environment is no longer there. There's also no combat, looting, and as I said, there's just a good part of this hallucination where you're just walking so slowly. It's one of those parts in the game that I never look forward to as I know exactly what's gonna happen, and I know it'll slow down the pace of the grander high-stakes mission. Anyways, once receiving the injection, Rice gets extremely upset about the lack of decision that Crane makes, so he sends in some of his goons to finish the job, but this is where the Scorpion shows off her stinger. Yeah, get that man, Jade. Fuck him up with that machete. Kick that bozo. Show them who all is. Who? Oh.
It's the natural order of things, Crane. Kill or be killed. Eat or be eaten.
Rest in peace, Jade. You were definitely one of the most well-written characters in the main story. As a last resort, Rice sends in Tahir to fight you. Remember Tahir? Yeah, he's still in the game. Not for long though, as this fight is very easy. He attacks like a typical bandit in the game, except he can sometimes knock you down or call in reinforcements in his second stage. But all in all, this fight can be finished within just a few minutes.
Look at that. Jade lost her life for this thing. It's just lying on the floor. I guess Rice must have dropped it when he was trying not to get shot, huh?
This never happens, by the way. I don't know what shots Crane is talking about. Just like that, Crane gets, albeit only half of the data, but enough to give to Camden. He then turns to a dying Tahir, says some corny-ass final lines to the man.
Guess you're not the kind of loose end you leave untied.
And boom, Tahir is gone. Rest in peace, Tahir. You were definitely written into this game, I guess. After escaping the museum, Crane gives Dr. Camden a call, telling him that he has some samples. He plans on going to the lab to drop them off, but he has to do one more thing first. He needs to prevent the Ministry of Defense from firebombing this country once and for all. Now, the last plan didn't work, but the Embers have a new plan that the Ministry cannot cover up, broadcasting a message to all radios. To do this, you must go to a giant antenna on the outskirts of the old town and place down some doohickey to bypass the countrywide jammer. This part is pretty cool. You go through all different points to get to this antenna, from going through the overrun survivor camps in the sewers to jumping off a dam that would definitely break every bone in your body. It's all pretty neato. The best part is by far climbing the actual antenna. You jump on all ends of the tower and even evade a crashing elevator, all while the safety of the sun creeps over the horizon line. It's cinematically beautiful and just a fun parkour experience that I would never do in real life because I would eat shit after the first jump. Once making it to the top of the antenna, Crane contacts the military seconds before the firebomb commences. As the climactic bombing is about to start, the military receives the transmission and calls off the entire thing.
Anyone who can hear me, please listen. My name is Kyle Crane, and I'm sending this message from inside the Huron quarantine. Colonel Tanner and the Ministry of Defense have lied to you. There are still survivors inside the walls. They plan to firebomb Huron, but if those bombs drop, you will know Tanner and the Ministry are cold-blooded murderers.
Holy shit! There's someone alive in the quarantine zone? Hey, do you copy? Do you copy? It's Waldron! I knew it!
That was too close.
Yeah, I bet you knew that after you blew up a smiley-faced tower. I don't think zombies can do that, but whatever, man. While Crane is up on the tower, he gets a call from the GRE. That's right, they're back and they're scummier than ever. The GRE offers Crane a way out of Haran so long as he hands them Zare's research. Realizing that this is just a ploy for the GRE to claim that they were making a cure all along, Crane basically tells them to go to hell and that he will contact them once he's made up his mind. Crane obviously wants nothing to do with the slimy corporation, and for now, all he's worried about is finally getting the data over to Dr. Camden. So, making your way over there, this laboratory that Dr. Camden is locked up in is completely locked down and surrounded by zombies. This is to stop Rice's men from breaking into the building to kill Camden, so making your way through the underground section of the building, you're tasked with turning on the nearby emergency generators to gain access to his room. As you're making your way through the undead-infested lab, Camden gives a plot dump about how he got separated from Dr. Zare. This is kind of like the exposition dump that Jade gave, but this time it's far less boring. Camden explains how the lab was once full of GRE operatives and scientists who were trying to work on the cure. However, an outbreak occurred within the lab that either killed people off or sent them out of the building, with Camden being the only survivor remaining down here. Zare and a GRE operative aligned themselves with the Tower faction in the hopes of continuing research against this virus, and all in the while, Camden has spent countless nights down here, unable to get any closer to figuring out a cure or even escaping here. That is, until Crane arrived with the samples. After resetting the power and taking on a boatload of zombies, Crane makes his way over to Dr. Camden's room. He hands him the samples and Camden starts synthesizing them or some shit. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. The only way I learn about science is from Rick and Morty. Did you guys know he turned himself into a pickle? Fuck, that's so funny. Camden is able to collect the data from the samples, but it'll take some time to get any viable conclusions. Plus, this is only half of the samples, so Crane is going to need to get the other half from Rice. Now, before Crane goes off to do the last mission of the game, he asks Camden about the GRE operative who supposedly helped Zare extract. And it's fucking Amir who's the operative. Do you guys remember Amir? Did I even mention him? I can't even remember. He's the dude that gets eaten alive while saving you in the first cutscene of the game. The one that Jade was head over heels for and didn't have a single conversation with you? I'm sorry, if Amir even did exist, because at this point I don't even believe he did, this story would not even have changed. Yet this, I guess you can call it a plot twist, is just thrown at you, with Techland expecting you to even remember this supposed guy's name. Hashtag Amir doesn't exist. Or some shit. What does this bit of information do to help us figure out the plot for this game? I'll tell you what it does. Jack shit. Once leaving the lab, Crane contacts the GRE to tell them his final decision. But the GRE isn't the ones who pick up. Oh no, 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 my friends. It's Rice on the other end.
This is Crane, do you copy?
Kyle Crane, you can hear me, can you not?
Rice, where are you?
Exactly where I should be, atop my own tower. Of course, mine is not quite complete, but it still stands as a monument to chaos, to entropy, to what it means to be ruled only by oneself.
I'll kill you for what you did to Jade. For everything, I will fucking kill you!
I had hoped that would be your attitude. You see, we are at war, you and I. A war of opposing philosophies. A war to see whose vision of the world proves true. Come, Crane. Come and challenge me. What is it you Americans are so fond of saying? I dare you.
You know what? Forget it. There is no war. There's only your fucked up outlook. Go to hell.
Oh, no. I won't be going to hell. I will be leaving Arando, you see. I have made a deal with our GRE brothers, using your very own communicator, no less. They know I have all of Dr. Zera's research data. They call it the keys to the kingdom. Very shortly, a helicopter will come and take me away. Imagine the damage I shall be able to do outside the confines of these walls. Of course, if you think you can stop me.
You crazy son of a bitch!
That is what I had hoped to hear. Come and find me, Crane. Let us finish what we began.
As usual, Rice has completely one-upped Crane. Not only does he still have the latter half of the samples, where they promised his safe evacuation from Haran. Knowing that Rice will stop at nothing to spread chaos to every society once he leaves, Crane must go to his headquarters to stop him once and for all. So, sparing no time, unless you want to spare every bit of time, Crane heads back all the way through the sewers to the slums to confront Rice. In the meantime, though, Brecken and the tower are helping out by...
I'm gonna fart, don't tell anybody. Oh god, that's terrible. I hope the microphone didn't pick that up.
By doing absolutely nothing at all. Here we are though. Crane makes it over to Rice's tower for the final mission of the game. Here he will have to storm the construction area, fight off countless bandits, and then stop Rice from good. Except there's something strange going on here. The bandits are all dead. The different floors on this tower are completely booby-trapped, and Rice is sitting atop of everything, acting more manic than ever. He's lost it all by killing off every single one of his men just to get revenge on Crane. Now, making your way through this tower is by far my favorite part of this game. You have to wade through countless infested areas where bandits used to rule. You even go through the now dilapidated pit from the first act of this game. All while this happens, Rice is either taunting you over the mega speaker or shooting rockets at you. This guy is insane. That's not all of it though. There's a part within here where you're sent underneath a construction lot. Being thrust down here lands you in a massive volatile nest, and the second you're down here, you're put into a chase sequence against the countless beasts. It is so ass-clenchingly tenseful, as you don't know if these volatiles will catch up to you and kill you to death. You have to constantly keep running, as looking back once might be the reason why you end up dead. This part alone is just super fun, and don't take my word for it. Even if you haven't played this game, you've probably seen this segment so many times by engagement farmers on Twitter. There's still more to come with this mission, as making it about halfway up the tower, you come across a dying Kareem. He tells Crane that Rice shot everybody out of maniacal anger, and that the next floor is littered with mines. So to get past the floors, you're gonna have to jump across to the next tower, scale that, and then jump back to Rice's tower. Dude, it's like what Raheem said in that one time, Crane on a crane or something. It's a full circle moment. Oh my god, he's shooting another rocket! This whole mission is just so cool. It really represents the greatness of Dying Light. Being able to go from the dark underground where all the volatiles lie, all the way up to scaling a damn skyscraper. This final mission is something that I showed to someone who has never played this game to entice them with all the badass things that you can do in this game. And even this mission is hands down more polished and more fun than any other mission in the first 2 Dead Island games. It really shows how much Techland has improved over the years while also showing their full creative vision of a zombie title they wanted to create in the first place. This mission through and through is just fucking phenomenal. That is, until the very end part. You see, once climbing to the top of the tower, Crane faces off against Rice. The one-on-one showdown is finally coming to fruition after countless encounters costing the lives of countless survivors. These two people downright hate each other and what they stand for. So tell me, why would the most climactic encounters within Dying Light end off in a goddamn quick time event? Throughout this entire time, I don't even want to call it a fight, you have to survive by pressing a button at the right time. And getting really spicy here, you may have to repeatedly press a button for a moment or two. This should have been a test of your skills. Throughout the entire game, you learn about how to survive within Haran. Crane adopts new skills to take out any sort of threat. Crane figures out how to parkour to his advantage so he doesn't become a rotting corpse on the street. He also learns the mentality of this new world, as the people have completely stripped their ways of thinking in a normal life to survive this hellish one. And all in the while, both sides of this faction war are brutally killed off or tormented to no end. And when there's the final 2 left standing, the leader of the bandits versus the leader of the survivors, in a fight to determine the fate of the world, we ended off in a quick time event? This creative decision is just downright stupid. There was no other quick time event like this throughout the entirety of the game. Hell, even the Demolisher and the Tahir boss fights actually had you taking them on. So I repeat my question, why was this the final feature of the main story? Looking through the internet, I could not find a single interview that explains the thought process behind this decision. But I have found dozens upon hundreds of upset fans that were left with a sour taste in their mouth due to this anticlimactic ending for the game. This entire final segment is nothing less than a letdown of a long, great build-up. The final fight is just a pathetic QTE. Rice gives off his typical bad guy speech that he's been giving off for so many hours. You know, Crane is just a lapdog, he has no spine, and Suleiman is dead just like his brother, but now Rice will show the world what suffering is, yada yada yada. And while Rice talks and talks and talks, Crane just makes quick work of the guy and tries to recover the data samples.
Yes, go on. You cannot resist. Do it, I won't fight you. Just as you killed Tahir. Do it!
Fuck you, asshole. You want me to make my own rules? Rule number 1. You're gonna spend the rest of your goddamn life in fucking agony.
Okay, Crane, I gotta be honest, man, this makes no fucking sense, as you just put down his right-hand man who is infinitely less brutal than him. Whatever, I guess. So, as Crane attempts to get the data at the ledge of the building, Rice charges at you, knocking you both down onto a loose shipping container. I guess Rice is the kind of loose end you don't leave untied, huh, Crane? Then a GRE helicopter comes up to extract whomever survives this fight, but as Rice gives his 20th evil speech of the day, Crane slides a knife into her throat, killing the warmonger. Crane then gets back onto the building where the GRE flat out begs for the research data.
And I can think of a lot of reasons to tell you to go fuck yourself, but why don't we just pretend for a minute that you don't think I'm stupid?
Thank you, Sonic. And with that, Crane tells him to fuck off. They're not getting the cure. As the GRE leaves, Camden calls Crane shortly afterwards to tell him that the data really did help lead to a cure. And even Brecken chimes in by saying,
I'm gonna fart, don't tell anybody. Oh god, that's terrible. I hope the microphone didn't pick that up.
Okay, that's the last time I'll do this joke. I can already feel my viewer retention plummeting. And Crane looks off into the sunset to figure out what's next in store for helping out Haran. The end. This story fucking sucks. I'm not gonna beat around the bush and say that the main story was the main focus of Dying Light, because instead, I'm gonna beat my dick and say it's not the case. Nobody within Techland wanted to create a narrative-focused game, so in turn, nobody who has played this game played it for the story. And there are a couple of reasons for this. In an interview with Dying Light's producer, Taimon Smektala, he had this to say about the focus on the story.
The whole Dying Light project is the most ambitious project we've ever done at Techland, so we knew from the start that we want to cover all bases, and story was definitely one of the bases that we wanted to cover. But we also knew that it would be hard for us to create a story that'll be engaging for an American audience, because we are just a company from Poland and we think in Polish ways, and maybe that's not what people in America expect. I think that most of all, we were trying to focus on all the elements that make the Dying Light experience complete, but the most important thing for us was the natural movement system, because we really believe that it's something that can change the FPS genre and first-person games in general. Of course, we have zombies, we have many weapons, we fight with those zombies, but we did that before in Dead Island Riptide, so we knew how to do it effectively. With the natural movement system, it was something new, so we focused on that for more of the production of the game. What we have right now is something that really changes how you play FPS games.
It kind of makes sense as to why things felt overshadowed within Dying Light's main story. From the get-go, Techland heavily pushed their marketing to discuss the more revolutionary features never seen in a zombie genre, and in most other genres too. A lot of time, effort, and overall focus went into polishing a parkour mechanic that they hadn't created prior to this. To delegate more effort into something as trifling as a story when Techland never pushed for that in the first place would just be poor management and use of resources. Add that to the fact that Eastern cultures tell different types of stories, and especially different language than Western culture, and yeah, it makes total sense as to why this story wouldn't be perfect. Nonetheless, the story is an integral part of Dying Light, as it's the main reason that you progress throughout her run. So with that, I do have to address this major sore thumb, and by far the weakest point of the game. The fact of the matter is that my thoughts about this story is that it is just weak. The pacing is extremely inconsistent, as the first half of the game feels slow while the second half feels very fast. You meet characters early on, get a monologue from them or about them to describe who they are, and then they die or just disappear. A lot of the times when they're alive and well, they're just never seen again and can't even be considered as an afterthought. Do you guys remember Spike? All the way from the first mission in the open world slums, he's not used in the second part of the story, but he doesn't die from the rice attack on the courtyard camp. In fact, he shows back up in the museum within Old Town, but he's used as nothing more than a quartermaster like the one at the tower. It's not to say that I don't like these characters, it's actually quite the opposite. Just like in Dead Island, I think Techland does a great job of creating characters who are very memorable. I still enjoy Raheem, Zerb, Reckon, Jade, Crane, and especially Rice. Albeit, I think a lot of the writing for these characters are corny, but in a more fun and enjoyable way.
To feel right at home. A crane on a crane.
Outside of the last three characters that I just mentioned though, they're not shown enough in the main story. I'll put an emphasis on main story because I'll talk about the side content later on. So when a character's death does happen, I really just don't care. I wish for like Raheem, for example, there would be a mission early on where you have to scavenge around while he tells you where to go, or maybe you and him look for some supplies before the school raid with Jade. It would make his monologue about how you and him are two peas in a pod that much more believable, but we don't get that, and in turn, we're given absolute whiplash with the plot's pacing. Another huge thing that I don't like is the number of plot holes this story has to offer. The Antizin vial that Crane keeps a hold of but never does anything with. The numerous quote-unquote time-sensitive missions, or Amir in general, all go nowhere. They all make zero sense when you actually take a step back and think about what's going on. And these plot holes, if addressed properly, would have changed the story drastically. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the matter. I know I just talked about this for so much just to say like it's kind of ass, but there's nothing else to say about this. I have yet to meet any single person who has played Dying Light, who has enjoyed the story, or who had thought that this is like a main focus, or should be a main focus of the game. So if I were to rate this story, I would maybe rate it like 2 Sam B heads out of 5. There we go. Okay, doing a little bit of self-reflecting right here. We all love some self-reflecting, but I feel like I did spend way too long going over a story that I just said doesn't matter. But you know what does matter within Dying Light? You know what this game takes pride in that makes it so beloved by many, including me? The gameplay, baby. That's right. Transitioning into the next part of the video here. What can I say about this gameplay that millions of players haven't said already? The entirety of Dying Light's gameplay is truly one of a kind, as it completely overhauled freeform movements that were barely emerging in games like Mirror's Edge. Dying Light had it all. Smooth parkour.
What?
Thousands of climbable edges.
What?
Effective skill trees.
What?
Engaging zombies.
What?
Zombie parkour.
What?
Advanced human enemies.
What?
Drop kicking.
What?
Crafting.
What?
I said there's crafting.
What?
Craft a damn Excalibur.
What?
And if you don't think that's cool, then I'll open up a can of whoop ass on you. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Where do I even begin with the phenomenal gameplay that Dying Light has to offer? I guess we should start with the most memorable detail, that is the complete upgrade from Techland's last zombie game, the crafting. Rather than, you know, needing a crafting table, Techland has implemented the feature where you can just craft anything, anywhere, all at once. It allows players to have more of a fluid time playing the game, as they no longer have to go out of their way to find this table like it's fucking Minecraft. The crafting mechanic has also Alright, fine, I'll talk about the actual game-defining feature, the parkour. Dying Light would not be Dying Light without the parkour, simple as that. It would really just be Dead Island, but upgraded onto a newer generation of consoles. In fact, I would guarantee that if you told a friend about what Dying Light is, you most likely emphasized the parkour mechanics. It was a feature that was pretty untapped when it first came out, and it is still so polished that many games that try to implement a free-flowing movement system don't live up to what the original Dying Light's movement system was like. Hell, even Dying Light 2 didn't live up to its predecessor. I mean, come on, a stamina system for climbing? Okay, I get it. It would be more realistic to have this, but this is set in a world where zombies have killed most of society. I think we can throw realism right out of the window along with a damn climbing stamina. Dying Light's movement is very fluid. Techland basically gave the player free will to climb, jump, and run to just about anywhere in the game, with no limits whatsoever. Do you want to climb this tower? Go do that. Do you want to run along these rooftops? Do that. Do you want to scale a broken down bridge and then jump off of it like you're pyrocynical hitting 250,000 subscribers? Well, make sure you do a 360 on your way down. Essentially, both the slums and Old Town is your playground to do whatever you want, and there's been so many times where I've hopped on the game just to free run. I cannot express to you how many times I felt like one of those parkour YouTubers who run around skyscrapers looking like they're about to plummet to their death at any second. I could go on and on about how you feel like the king of the world while scaling the tallest point of Iran, or how you feel like the king of cardio by freestyling for miles on end. But what I find absolutely fascinating is just how Techland was able to create such a fluid movement system like this. As I was researching for this retrospective, I came across a video on the GDC Festival of Gaming channel. By the way, if you have a modicum of interest in game development or just how your favorite game functions, go check out this channel. There are hundreds of videos going in depth about the behind the scenes work of so many popular games. Anyways, I saw this video where Techland's game designer Bartosz Kulan discussed the struggles of implementing their parkour vision. Now that they had full creative control of making the zombie game that they envisioned, unlike with Dead Island, they now had access to put in whatever they wanted, like the parkour. But actually putting it in was a bit of a struggle itself. At first, Techland's level designers were in control of manually placing climbable ledges, but that quickly became a nightmare as they created over 50,000 ledges within one map alone. This would have the game run at about 2 frames per second on the PS4 Xbox One, but bear in mind they were still developing this game on the 7th generation of consoles at this time, so this would have caused everyone's consoles to most likely just explode. So going in with another approach, the game designers stepped in and decided to implement what they call forward traces. If I'm gathering what this video is saying correctly, these are equidistant invisible lines that measure the distance of both the player and the given obstacle. If the player is jumping at a ledge within an acceptable distance from the ledge's forward trace, you would be able to climb at the ledge. And of course, if the ledge's forward trace is too far from the player, then they would not be able to climb it. Then they implemented a vertical trace that detects where the ledge actually is, so climbing now looks real. It's kind of like plotting a dot on an X and Y chart if you guys have ever taken an algebra class before, and this allowed Techland an easy way to get their game's engine to detect climbing capability, especially in a 3D environment. The stuff that Techland figured out to make this parkour how they wanted it is so complex and fascinating. Now, this trace implementation solved the main problem of figuring out how to climb, but there were still far more issues that they needed to figure out. Soon, Techland worked on a hanging mechanic that allowed players to slowly climb up a larger scale building. They worked on shimmying, which they created an algorithm to decide if there was a compatible collision to the left, right, above, or below the player, and this makes the player climb more smoothly without needing to just jump, which would send them further away from their original position. After getting the basic climbing mechanics down, Techland needed to heavily polish it to make movement feel non-restricting, which allows the player to move wherever they want. So they created a jump assist, which gives the player slack when jumping too early or too late. Essentially, if you jump too early, you would be given a slight boost for about a meter ahead to allow you to move to the next location without doing, well, this. and jumping too late wouldn't be an issue as you'd be given a few centimeters of leeway, allowing you to do a sort of invisible jump after stepping off the ledge. Of course, stepping too far off of a ledge would send you stumbling down, but this extra leeway allowed for better movement overall for those who were still adjusting to the mechanics. Other polishes were created like animations that made climbing for both single and multiplayer look more natural. They added in a free look movement and a faster paced climbing to remove that general stiffiness that you would see in older games, and most impressively, Techland even mapped the jumping button on the controller from the standard X button, or A for shitbox users, to the right bumper. Doing this saves the player a fraction of a second from moving their right thumb from the analog stick to the X button, given that a typical person would have their index and middle fingers on the back of the controller already. All these mechanics might seem small, but they add up to create a memorable experience like this. A great parkour game to contrast with what Dying Light showcased is Assassin's Creed. Over the years, Ubisoft created a more simulation-based movement system that relied on more pre-made animations for the player. Although it made climbing look more intricate, it felt a lot worse for the player as you had to just hold down a button. I recently played Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster, and the climbing was nothing short of frustrating, to be honest. There would be so many times where Connor would be running normally, but then would decide to climb on a nearby ledge, completely ruining the pacing that I would set forth. There were also so many times when Connor would just climb to specific ledges that I was not aiming for, and every single time this happened, I was left screaming at my monitor out of pure anger over the game's unresponsiveness. Now, I'm not speaking for every Assassin's Creed as I've not played all of them, but this pattern is repeated in following games like Black Flag, Unity, and Syndicate, all games that released around the time of Dying Light. In short, Ubisoft leaned towards more scripted climbing, which catered to flashiness over practicality. Dying Light, on the other hand, does not have this issue. In turn, it makes climbing feel responsive and quick. There's no trouble with failing the climb even after a decade since the game's release. That really means something, especially coming from Techland. Like, no shade to the company, but this is the same group of people whose last big project had very stiff movement. Getting across a flat plane was an enraging experience in some parts, let alone being able to move vertically. The difference between Dying Light's movement and Dead Island's movement is complete day and night, no pun intended. It just shows what a company can do if its limit is not from a creatively conflicting publisher or console limitation, but rather the sky. Get it? Because, like, the sky is the limit, you know? Alright, moving on. The other major thing that makes Dying Light stand out from all of the zombie games is, of course, the day-night mechanic. Like, it's in the title, you would think the light would mean something if it's dying, but contrary to popular belief, Dead Island 1 did not have a night system in place. The absolute most that they would have was a weather system that allowed storms to occur, but this only took place in the city part of the game. So taking a step up with Dying Light, Techland decided to go above and beyond with implementing it. Once the sun goes down, which is about 50 real minutes, the dangers of the night comes out. Dozens roam around, ready to find their next victim. If they spot you, a huge chase sequence happens, in which they more than likely will tear you from limb to limb. On top of that, the normal zombie AI changes tenfold. They're given a more feral persona, allowing them to chase you like a volatile with having majorly increased health and attack damage. Getting caught with your pants down is an absolute disaster, especially if you are low level, but the rewards from roaming at night is far better. Loot drops from the zombies as well as the world itself are far better, as any kind of XP is doubled. Plus, that Bolter zombie actually plays a pivotal part here, as you need its loot drops to craft strong weapon mods. Plus, there are a few missions that rely on scavenging at night, so if you want to 100% this game, you're going to have to venture out into the unknown darkness of night. So really, there's a risk of a reward factor here. If you want to take down tough enemies, you're going to have to face them when you're at a weaker point, and it's pretty terrifying to do so. You don't know if or when you'll be ambushed by the night crawlers. Getting spotted by one can almost mean certain death unless you know how to parkour efficiently, or if you know how to fight. Now, fighting volatiles and other night beasts head-on is the most foolish thing you can do. These volatiles alone are absolute tanks, so facing it one-on-one is like facing Iron Mike Tyson in his prime. But there's one key thing that you can use against them if you want a sliver of a chance to survive, and that is to use UV lights. Whether by using a UV light bulb, flares, or the sanctity of the sun, any form of UV lighting will affect all volatiles. If they're called out into the light, the volatiles will glow a bright bright orange, burn slowly, and retreat for a few seconds to recuperate. This is a great way to escape them, or if you're ballsy enough, this is a great way to take them head on. My favorite part of using the UV light is when a volatile is trapped. Sometimes they're stuck in a corner so you can just spam flares at it. Other times it's caught in a safe house where it'll stay there looking completely helpless until it just ragdolls onto the ground. It's funny seeing these terrifying creatures fold instantly to simple light. Nonetheless, this UV feature really balances out the difficulty of being out at night. It gives you a fighting chance to live another day, as without it, there would definitely be no way that anybody could survive out in this world with these terrifying creatures coming out at every night. All in all, the contrast between Dead Island's lack of a day-night cycle compared to Dying Light's iconic mechanics is... I already used this joke like 2 minutes ago. To call this mechanic a step up from Techland's predecessor would be an absolute understatement to the environment that they've built here. Another huge step is the level progression Techland has put in place. At face value, you're likely to just claim that Dead Island and Dying Light are the same when it comes to facing zombies. And if you haven't played the game either, I really wouldn't blame you. Both games share a lot of similarities when it comes to zombie types. There is a majority of shambling zombies, fast-running infected to blindside you, and special infected like the Thug or the Boomer to deviate from the normal type of zombies that you would see in other games. But so long as you play the game, you'll unlock more skills as well as better weapons to take them down. However, this is really where the similarities end. Dead Island is a fairly repetitive RPG when it comes to its core gameplay loop. You go around the island of Banoi or Palanai, taking down zombies while completing quests to level up. These skill points can go into any of the 3 skill trees that each playable character has exclusive access to, and finally, as you level up while collecting new weapons scattered across a respective area, the zombies reach a level cap, at which point you have to move to a new area to fight harder enemies. It's a very to-the-point way of grinding, pretty much seen in all other RPGs like World of Warcraft and Paper Mario, with its major standout feature being the ability to craft cool-looking weapon mods and workbenches. Dying Light, on the other hand, takes that RPG element and fully diversifies it. Yes, you are required to complete quests and kill zombies to level up, but attaining new skills is far more complex. Instead of getting 1 skill point that can be spent on 3 general skill trees, Techland decided to split certain skills into the respective categories. So completing general quests will give you survivor XP to later use skill points on a general build. This is where you can upgrade stuff like inventory spaces, crafting abilities, and even get the grappling hook. Side tangent, the grappling hook is the greatest thing that Techland has put into this game. The grappling hook allows you to immediately send you flying towards a chosen ledge, so it makes parkouring a lot faster paced. It's very easy to learn, very easy to master, and the only reason why I'm mentioning this is that they completely ruined it in Dying Light 2. Why is it just a piece of rope that you can swing from? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I'm pretty sure this gem right here was never broke. Side tangent over. The other 2 skill trees go towards parkour and combat, and the only way to get these skill points to upgrade these trees is by strictly doing parkour and combat respectively. In my opinion, this is such a natural way to feel like you're getting stronger over time. Towards the beginning of the story, Kyle Crane states that the only bit of parkour that he's done is just some track in high school. Combine that with the fact that he's never fought the undead before like this, and he's completely new to this, or how Raheem calls him, a noob. This game is so 2015 coded. Progressing through the game by having Crane learn about specific things is just about how anybody learns any skill. It wouldn't make sense for him to know how to parkour faster simply by shooting a zombie in the head. So to have him essentially learn through trial and error feels more natural. It also gives the player more satisfaction from getting these skills. You're not meant to know how to be the next American Ninja Warrior after playing this game for 2 minutes. You're going to fail in more ways than one. Like you might not make this wide jump off the bat, or you might not outrun a volatile instantly. But through trading Crane, you have this feeling of being more powerful as you learn how to increase your stamina, drop kick a zombie off the building, or how to effectively throw a weapon without making it look pitiful like No More Room in Hell 2. Not only are these skills improved, but the weapons are too. Just like in Dead Island, there's a wide range of weapons that you can use to your discretion at any time. One-handed, two-handed, throwing, and ranged weapons are found frequently throughout the game. But unlike Dead Island, you can use any type of weapon without feeling inefficient as you use them with the wrong character. On top of that, the weapon crafting got a major overhaul here. Instead of searching for workbenches to craft weapons or mods, you're freely able to do so within the confines of Crane's inventory. As long as you found the right blueprint while having the right materials, Crane can turn any basic everyday objects into a weapon of mass destruction. And I love this change. I thought that although the modification mechanic in Dead Island was neat, there were quite a few kinks that needed to be ironed out, with this being one of them. Now, you don't have to go out of your way to search for very limited workbenches scattered throughout the map. Instead, Instead, you could just peep into your inventory and there you go. It's so simple, so effective, and doesn't force you to stop what you're doing to go out of your way to craft something. Additionally, you can also repair your weapons at any given time. Instead of needing money for some damn reason, I never understood why money was so pivotal to repair a broken hammer. You can just hold whatever broken weapon you have and repair it with a press of a button and a piece of scrap metal. I sound like a broken record when I say that this is much more effective, but it is. There were so many times where I felt I was just boned in Dead Island, as all my primary weapons would be broken. So I would be standing there, thumb on my ass, and waiting for a zombie to kill me. But in Dying Light, I've never had this problem. Plus, the small detail of having a weapon look repaired after repairing it for the first time is so cool to see. Then there's some other little things that make weapons so much cooler than before. The ability to add in weapon upgrades was a neat feature too. That way, instead of relying on luck to find a powerfully pre-modified weapons in this game like it's fucking Terraria, you can apply the upgrades that you want if you have them. It seriously affects a weapon's damage, durability, and more, making no two weapon the same, unless some overpowered person joins your game and gives you king stacked weapons. But hey, I would rather have those type of people in the community than hackers that ruin your experience. Now, getting the weapon of your dreams is one thing, but using them to bash in the brains of the undead is a phenomenal experience as well. The combat within Dying Light feels so fluid and so responsive to the point where I'm enjoying every second of it. There's never really a time when the combat system is a monotonous thing to do in this game. A great reason as to why this is the case is simply because of the weapon's usage itself. At first, you're most likely going to have the most pitiful weapons that will take a hot minute to take down anything. Using like a rusty pipe, you'll probably have to put in a good dozen hits into a zombie to take it down. But as you progress though, taking down a zombie not only becomes a breeze, but a satisfying one at that. Using a blunt weapon to break the bones of an infected feels like you're actually putting in a whole lot of oomph into your swings. And using a bladed weapon to cut the infected in half with one powerful swing is also great, as you feel like you're goddamn Samurai Jack with your cutting skills. And don't even get me started on what it's like to throw a machete clean into an enemy's head, Modern Warfare 2 style. Then there's the cherry on top being slow motion. This small feature that Techland put in makes combat just that much more satisfying, as you get the extra second to relish that brutal strike onto that poor soul you just demolished. And I also need to briefly talk about the gun usage in Dying Light. Although it could be a bit of a cop-out to rely on guns in a combat-heavy game like this, it's still pretty satisfying to pop the heads of the undead. Of course, using these guns comes at the expense of attracting more infected, but it's so easy to headshot a room full of zombies in a matter of seconds. I also really adore how bandits respond to you having a gun. If some bandit patrol comes across you with a pew-pew, there's a good chance that they'll surrender unless they figure out that you have no bullets. You know the saying, don't bring a knife to a not knife fight or some shit. Apart from the weapons themselves, you can use your newfound parkour and combat skills to your absolute advantage. There are so many skills and combat moves that you can try out when facing a group of zombies. I love swinging a two-handed weapon around to hit everything surrounding me. I love jumping over a zombie just to crash down onto another one right behind it. And I, of course, love the drop kicking. I think I've spent tens of hours of my time just drop kicking enemies. Drop kick a zombie into another zombie. Drop kick a zombie off a tall building. Drop kick a random dude just trying to survive. Everybody gets a drop kick. In short, the combat is just really great. I find myself running around countless times trying to find my next fight so I can try out the next satisfying combat move. It's all really so polished, so responsive, and so engaging for the player to partake in. If combat isn't your thing though, you can't deny that the parkour in this game is amazing. A lot of that is due to the drop-dead gorgeous maps that allow you to freely roam around. Within Dying Light, you're able to go between both the old town and slums at any point, given that you beat this fuck-ass story. Both areas offer such a differing experience of traversal, and yet they shine in their own ways. The slums are sprawling, sun-bleached, and chaotic, clearly inspired by dense, improvised urban environments where everything feels stacked on top of itself. Rooftops are cluttered with water tanks, wooden planks, and makeshift bridges, creating this scrappy survivalist playground. You're constantly hopping across uneven surfaces, climbing up rusted scaffolding, and squeezing through narrow gaps. In essence, Techland designed this area almost like a training ground for the player, as parkour routes are readable but not obvious, and it encourages experimentation without including fatal mistakes. I also really love this implementation of the marathon event that's built mostly in the slums area. No, it's not the marathon, the newly released game, but rather a countrywide event that was supposed to happen moments prior to the outbreak. You'll definitely spot makeshift structures, advertisements, and even zombies that promote the event sprawled throughout the entirety of both maps. But here, it's really noticeable, and it really makes the environmental storytelling stand out far more. You're never really given a mission that explicitly tells you what happened here when the outbreak started. At most, you're given clues from random NPCs and just the environment to piece together what went down. It's a really cool feature to include. Old Town, on the other hand, feels like a higher stakes parkour core map. It's tighter, more vertical, and far more deliberate in its layout. This town pulls Middle Eastern and Mediterranean architectural styles with its narrow alleyways, tall stone buildings, and open courtyards. Instead of the messy improvisation of the slums, Old Town is elegant, but very dangerous. You're scaling higher heights, making longer jumps, and relying on more precision rather than improvisation. One wrong jump, and you can be spiraling down to your demise. Plus, the density of how many zombies are on the ground level too forces you to mostly traverse on the roofs. According to developer interviews and design breakdowns, this shift was intentional. Once players had mastered the basics of the slums, Old Town was meant to push that mastery further, emphasizing flow and speed over cautious movement. All in all, these maps are what makes the world of Dying Light so memorable. It's not just that these maps look good, but rather every inch of them is built with purpose. The slums and Old Town aren't just different locations, but rather the different stages of your growth as a player. One teaches you how to move, while the other refines it and challenges it. And by the time you've mastered both, the city of Haran stops feeling like an obstacle and starts feeling like an extension of you. Everything, and I mean everything, is a step up in Dying Light. Techland went all out to create the game that they had envisioned, while adding features that they knew the player would enjoy. Like, did you know Dying Light is their first zombie game that includes a swimming mechanic? Not even Dead Island, a game that is set on islands, allow you to swim. You end up just being like Claude from GTA 3 if you touch open water in that game. There's a pretty clear reason why this and many more features are fully fleshed out here. Well, I guess two if you counted new generations of consoles being a reason. In that case, there's a main reason why this is the case. That being simply because Techland wasn't as constricted as when they were working with Deep Silver. Going back to the swimming mechanic, one of Techland's developers, Bartosz Kulan, had this to say with the free ability to create what they want with Deep Silver compared to Warner Bros.
Sometimes I get stubborn. We want to do something really good, and I think we really need to have all the basic mechanics and movements. Swimming to me is basic. It was a lot of pain for me in Dead Island that you couldn't swim. Our publisher told us that we couldn't do it because we had time restrictions. They told me the water could only go to your knees. If you got to the deep water, you were going out of the playable area. It sucked. I don't want this game to suck.
In contrast, when asked about Dying Light, Kulan had this to say.
He had a big argument about it. I wanted to do a swimming mechanic for Dying Light, says game programmer Bartosz Kulan. The designer said, no, we don't have the time for it. I said, okay, I'll come on Saturday and I'll do it. They said, okay, so we have swimming.
You see how stark that difference is? How just allowing programmers to freely pitch their ideas and have features be considered enough for implementation give them the sheer motivation to make something meaningful to them? That freedom is what Techland needed to make Dying Light. I'm not gonna sit here and vilify Deep Silver for what Dead Island could have been. Time restrictions are hard for everyone included, but there's a clear difference when it comes to how Techland viewed both projects. One project, unfortunately, became more of a contractual obligation than anything, while the other became a full-fledged passion project. It's evident through how both gameplay loops lasted over the years in terms of polish and player count that the passion project has outlasted long since the obligation. Techland was able to create the zombie game of their dreams. Then, in turn, players were able to enjoy what the developers made out of pure love. It is such a win-win situation, as the devs got to create something that the players have enjoyed for over 10 years now. But even with the gameplay being as good as it still is, even a decade later, there is still one thing that cemented Dying Light's legacy for good: the side content. After playing Dying Light countless times, it's pretty safe to say that the main story is not the best part, nor was it never the focal part for Dying Light. Techland wanted to focus on making sure the game was fun for the player, so that once you wrap up the main quest, you can still pick up where you left off and continue doing whatever the fuck your heart desires. This isn't a game like Telltale's The Walking Dead or even The Last of Us. In turn, there's so much additional content in just the base game alone. So much so that you can enjoy Dying Light for hours at a time and barely even scratch the surface of what else is in here. Apart from the main story, you can also dip your toes into trying out side quests, quarantine zones, combat and parkour trials, random events, defending missions, bounty boards, Bozak's Horde, the prison, and much, much more. It is insane how much Techland has packed into this game without making the gameplay feel tedious and bloated. Just about every single one of these extra pieces of content is unique in its own way, and it's really fun to play by yourself or with friends. And did I mention that most of the extra content that Techland has put into this game is free? Starting off, let's take a look at the side missions. In Dying Light, there are roughly 52 different side missions for you to take on. And for context, the main story only has 13. If you're like the average Burnt Peanut viewer and don't know what math is, that is 4 times the amount of missions in the side content compared to the main. But the craziest thing is that most of these side quests offer infinitely better stories than taking on Rice in the main. To break down the quest distributions, 36 of them are in the slums, 15 are in the old town, and 1 is in the area where you scale the antenna. Granted, some of these quests are simply fetch quests, like some of them you just walk up onto a job board that says, "My asshole is itchy, find me 4 rolls of toilet paper," or whatever, and that's the entire quest. But the others consist of fully extensive, multi-mission quests that can last for over an hour. If I were to talk about every single one of these side quests, I would be in this segment for an hour and a half at least. Trust me, I tried to write down every single side quest and never again. So instead, I will be talking about the top 3 that I always play, no matter how many times I restart the game, starting with Cease and Desist. I'm not gonna lie, I always thought this side plot was multi-mission, but I guess not. It's just a very long and very good one. Once clearing out of the school with Jade, many residents at the tower will spread word of survivors now living there. For anyone to randomly end up in a quarantined area like this, no less one that used to belong to Rice, is pretty ballsy. This Joe Swanson wannabe might seem familiar to anybody who's played this game before, and that's because his face is plastered all over the slums of Haran. This is Errol Asani, the governor of the district before the entire country went to hell. Somehow, he's been able to survive the apocalypse with his daughter, niece, and personal security guard, but that luck might dry up soon.
A squad of his thugs has tracked me to my last safe house in the slabs. Edward was just there. He says they're searching the area. It's only a matter of time before they show up here.
Sounds like you got quite a problem.
I would pay you very well to resolve it.
You know, people say that a lot to me.
Trust me, what I can offer you can't be found anywhere else, at any price.
And I'll think about it.
This being the perfect excuse to kill some of Rice's thugs, Crane heads over to the safe house that Arrow used to be holed up at. This place is completely overrun by zombies to the point that not even Rice's thugs can fend off the man-eaters. But one man's tragedy is another man's triumph, as Crane was able to locate the rest of the squad from a walkie-talkie left on the ground. However, the man on the radio was, of course, Kareem. With how he handled you working with Rice, he is no dummy. He knows that if his men were on the other line, they would have responded to the first call-out. So by the time you make it to Kareem's safe house, the place would already be barricaded, powered down, and ready to be defended. Good thing you probably had a gun by this point.
Cut power to the lift, Kareem, just in case.
With all the henchmen now becoming Swiss cheese, Kareem surrenders the second he sees Crane. As I said, he's no dummy. If Crane would get past everybody else, then good old Kareem would get Kareemed. He would get Kareemed. Rather than fighting, Kareem explains how Arrow has been playing you like a puppet this entire time. Rice never gave a single shit about him, as his political power means nothing in a time like this. Kareem, on the contrary, has some personal beef with the cripple. During the initial days of the outbreak, he was the bodyguard who worked with Edward to protect Errol. But on one fateful day, Errol got bitten, and because Kareem is Haran's next Einstein, he decided to cut off the governor's leg. This left Errol in an uncontrollable rage, as he knew later that same day the antizin drops would start. He also knows that with the radio jammers gone, he can call a one-way ticket out of this hell via a government-issued helicopter. Kareem would have been on that helicopter, but Errol no longer associates with his ex-bodyguard due to the incident. So he tried to get that one-way ticket out of there one way or another. Back at the school, Errol gives the truth and his side of the story on why he left Kareem. Already just through conversations with this guy, Errol seems to be a giant liar and a good one at that. Kinda like every political figure ever. Ha 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 ha. Give me some skin, guys. He uses his humble political head persona to get people to do what he wants for him, and then tosses them aside like they are nothing. And he's about to do the same with you. Arrow promises Crane a seat on the helicopter, but you have to get some spray cans that are scattered all over this apartment complex, and use them to spray a signal on the school's roof. Once doing so, Arrow has just one last request for you before the helicopter comes in and takes everyone away from this country.
Good. Now there is one last thing. There's a duffel bag in a locker on the second floor. I'd like you to bring it to me. Since you'll probably open it, there's no point trying to hide the fact that there's $24.7 million inside it. 1/3 of it is yours, if you can bring it back.
Why doesn't Edward get it?
There are too many biters there. I can't risk losing him. we'd be completely defenseless.
And this money's yours?
Most of the bank's depositors are no longer human. Stealing from them isn't a crime. Or have you never once taken the wallet of a biter that you've beaten to death?
Okay, I'll recover the bag, but there's no calling in the evac until I say so. When I bring back the money, I'm taking the radio.
That is unacceptable.
Yeah, but you'll accept it anyway because you have no choice.
You're worse than Kareem. Very well. I accept your terms.
Okay, seems like no problem. I just have to go into this basement. Oh, Rice's zombified thugs are here. That's a pretty nice touch. And, oh, where's the bag? Turns out you've been duped. You've been got, buddy, old pal. According to Errol, he tried to name you as one of the passengers from the helicopter, but when the GRE heard your name, they denied access to anybody. Knowing that Crane could not leave, Errol decided to lure you away so that everybody else can get out of here. Well, except Edward, bro just gets left behind. Going to the rooftop, Crane sees that the roof is completely abandoned, except for one person.
Hello, Crane. How's your day been?
Yeah, I thought we had an understanding.
I think we have a better understanding now. But if you want to shoot me...
Another time, maybe.
He did leave you a few goodies. I was going to nick them, but I thought, no, Crane's earned them. Let him have them.
Wow, you're almost okay, Kareem.
Almost. Until next time.
Good luck, Kareem.
Exactly.
And that's cease and desist. I fucking love this mission. I love how this is something tailored around a pretty minute character in the main story, but it makes you appreciate and understand him far more. Kareem is not this morally bad person that you're led to believe in the early parts of the game. He's someone who was dealt with a pretty shit hand as he tried to save an undeserving man who then left him to die. And when the opportunity arose that would keep him alive, he took it. He's not some one-note villain like fucking, Trapezoid or whatever his name is over here. And I'm just glad that there was a main story character that had a side mission like this. I really feel like there should have been something similar to other characters like Raheem, Brecken, or Spike, or any others that don't have much of an exploration of character. Not gonna lie, originally I had something written like, oh, the side mission is limited too, as you can't play it once Kareem dies in the main story. However, that's just not true. I guess I never played this mission before finishing the main story because he's alive and well after taking that shot to the gut. Bro's like Kenny in The Walking Dead. Not even a bullet to the stomach could stop these guys. Now, this isn't the only side mission that explores more of a Dying Light antagonist. The Shadow of the King is a side quest within Old Town that explores more of Rice's character, and in this side mission, a fortune teller sends you off to explore a barricaded hotel building. Scavenging the building, you can find Suleiman's room before he turned into Rice, and this little safe room holds some confidential files consisting of Suleiman in a general's uniform back when he was a, well, general, as well as a first-hand look at Suleiman's brother before he was killed in the outbreak. I just wanted to tell you guys about this mission so y'all don't think that Cease and Desist is the only side mission that delves deeper into a character within the main story, but this mission is not my top 3. It's a bit quick and lacking in true depth discoveries of Rice. A mission that is in my top 3 though is Legless Spider. I love this mission. It is so comically and hilariously worthless. While roaming around Old Town, Crane can come across a runner by the name of Spider trapped on a roof. He says he was injured from a Rice ambush, but that doesn't matter as you need to get these supplies to a fellow named David. Apparently everything that's inside this bag could be the reason that this entire outbreak started. But before you hand in any supplies, you have to hit up some voodoo stores to get some more of these supplies. Cool fun fact, God, I'm just so filled with amazing facts and side tangents in this video. Anyways, this is the mission I was referring to earlier in the video that introduces the zombie child before it actually gets into the intro cutscene. Make sure you all have that fun fact written down. I will quiz you guys later on it. Once you get those items though, you head over to David's place to give him the supplies, but Rice's thugs have gotten there first. It seems like whatever this David person is uncovering, many people are pretty interested to see what he's found out. But then you talk to the guy.
Thanks. I owe you. Who are you? Crane, Spider sent me.
Why? What's happened to him?
He ran into Rice's people, but he'll be alright. Like, I brought the things he was collecting for you.
You're a lifesaver. Thanks, Crane. This is really going to make a difference.
So, tell me what this is all about.
Oh, I thought you knew.
I know it involves the source of the epidemic.
Yes, the meteorite. I know where it landed.
You think the epidemic came from space?
You think that's a coincidence?
You have some proof of this?
I did. Rice's men just took off with my last samples. I was going to send Spider out for some more. Could you do it?
The further prove whatever the fuck he's trying to prove, he wants you to head over to a nearby excavation site where one of the meteors that he mentioned has landed. In here, you have to collect any pieces that are still there to return to the crazy man, and this part is pretty good. It's suggested that Crane turns on the nearby generator as the meteor glistens in some UV light, but that also spawns in a freakish amount of zombies. Once getting those meteor pieces without a generator, because, you know, I'm just such a Dying Light pro at this game, Crane heads back to David and his little conspiracy theory. In here, David goes into a full conspiracy tangent about this virus.
Alright, I've got your meteor fragments.
Good. I'll load the shards into the accelerator chamber, and we'll be ready to take the fight to the reptilians.
Whoa, wait, whoa. Who are we taking the fight to?
Okay, technically they're gadoids from Orion, but reptilians is a recognized euphemism, even if it's a bit redneck.
Uh-huh. And these gadoids did what now?
Please. They came to Earth eons ago, and formed the Order of the Illuminati. Now they want to dominate us and spread around the entire 4th level. They have been turning people into slaves. But now you're going to stop them, because you have this.
I do?
Remember, it's not going to cut through a fast variable gamma shield, but short of that, it should deatomize anything out there.
Right. Got it. Anything else?
I'd estimate you can count on 500 charges before you need to replace the meteor shards. So go get them, soldier. Send them to hell. Envoyez-les à l'enfer.
Gee, thanks, David. Thanks a lot.
David then gives you the anti-gadoid gun, and to say that this weapon would be the most powerful gun that you can find in the entirety of Dying Light would be, in fact, a lie. This gun, taking some absurd ammo that you can't even craft, does absolutely no damage to anything. Instead, it just lets out a loud noise in case any of these infected were gadoids. And what are gadoids, you might ask? Well, they are, apparently bony fish. So if any of these infected thugs or just anybody in general are secretly Atlantic cods, Pacific cods, or some other type of fish, they're not gonna stand a chance. Overall, this mission is just hilarious. The build up to trying to figure out why this outbreak started, only for the guy to be the most common conspiracy nut, always gets a kick out of me. But what I think is the best side mission of Dying Light is chasing past. I have zero idea what Techland was cooking when they made this, but they were straight up acting like Gordon Ramsay with this cooking. As you talk to the museum curator about how to get into the museum, he asks for a favor from you. The little kid that's right next to him just showed up to the survivor camp out of the blue and hasn't said a word since he showed up here. It's clear as day that the kid is traumatized over something, so the curator wants you to go figure out what happened. The only lead that you get to piece everything together is a voice recorder where the kid is talking to a mic person and an address of an apartment from where the kid once lived. Going to the apartment, you get put into this noir-style detective minigame. All color saturation is gone, some bluesy music starts playing in the background, and your only task is to look for some clues. As you rummage through the apartment complex, you learn more about what happened in this desolate area. Apparently, this kid's father went missing sometime after the start of the outbreak. Acting as detectives themselves, this kid and Mike go to search the nearby apartment rooms to discover where their dad went. Their trails lead to the basement, where they end up in one of their neighbors' designated areas. After entering the basement yourself, you find out that Mike, who turned out to be the kid's dog, has been killed by the neighbor who has also eaten the kid's father? Oh my god, little dude, I would be traumatized too if this mentally deranged psycho ate my family. Where's that shitty Silent Hill Ascension trauma sticker? This kid definitely deserves that. One common theme that I found in most of these side quests Techland has is that these stories are genuinely more interesting and engaging than the main story. All of these side quests, especially Chasing Past, include stories that have steady pacing, great shock value, and well thought out characters. Most of these missions stand out to me far more, as they leave long-lasting and emotion-provoking impressions. They can also include very fun gameplay, and even though the main story does have fun gameplay elements that make their own missions stand out, the side quests take it even further with some of the stuff that you are required to do. Apart from these 3 side quests, there are far more that I love to death because they're that fun. There's one about a gunsmith who has to look over a group of children, one of them being critically diabetic, and his daycare-employed wife has succumbed to the virus. There's a series of side missions, including Dying Light's most iconic duo, Tolga and Fatim, where these twins come up with the dumbest plan imaginable while berating you for not being as supposedly smart as them. There's even a side mission that mocks Dead Island side mission where you have to collect an infinite amount of alcohol for the resident alcoholic. It's without a shadow of a doubt that Techland had so much fun making these creative storylines. Every time I play this game, these side missions are what I look forward to the most. I'm sorry, Raheem, you're cool and all to talk to, but characters like Kareem are much more cooler with their added backstory. Now, side quests aren't the only thing you can do while parkouring around the city of Haran. fun. Across both maps, you can find a whole range of different, smaller activities to partake in. One of the most fun, in my opinion, is the different challenges. Within high rooftops or low safe areas, you can find different trials that test your skills to the max. Specializing in combat or parkour, these challenges will give you an assigned task to do. These tasks will have you either kill zombies in a certain way or parkour to an area in under a certain time. With the different requirements that these challenges offer, your skills can be really tested in single player, but it's even more fun to do in multiplayer. Fighting against your friend to get the last zombie kill or to make it to the finish line first is always really fun. Like, Dying Light is definitely a game structured around having an enjoyable multiplayer experience, and these challenges really reinforce that idea. Additionally, there are random events that can happen throughout the world that you can optionally take care of. These range from helping random survivors fend off zombies, to ambushing bandits, to even claiming airdrops. Each of these random events give rewards like cash, weapon mods, or supplies to turn into a quartermaster for extra XP. These random events can happen, get this, randomly, and they're just a great way to do something extra while obtaining some rewards to build up Crane. Now, one of these random events you can find are some survivors who tell their own story of how they got here. I might be wrong on this, but I believe some are located randomly on buildings, while others can be located at scripted spots, but don't take my word for that. But these characters will give a 1 to 2 minute dialogue just building up the world of Haran, which I always love. But one that's always stuck with me the most is this one guy who talks about Spike, the quartermaster in Old Town. Apparently, Spike was a college professor in America who moved to Haran to escape the controversy of his life. What was the controversy, you might ask? Well, he fucked his own student. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this. I just thought, you know, that was kind of weird. With all the side content that I just talked about, you probably think there is more than enough to keep the player entertained for tens of hours on end. But yet, with everything that I have mentioned, I have barely scratched the surface of what all is in here. That's mostly thanks to Techland, which has made it its life goal to keep adding content years after release. Like, there are quarantine zones that get added once in a while, where you have to enter a high zombie dense building and extract supplies to give to the quartermaster. There are bounty boards where you have to do certain challenges while in the world of Haran, like looting one of these quarantine zones while not being caught by any volatiles. There's a prison raid that was added a little while after the main game was released. This free-to-play update allows you to visit Haran's maximum security prison, where you're tasked with speedrunning this absolute death trap to get to the other side of the island. Getting to the final part invokes a boss fight, and only when you can survive that, you are given an access to huge amounts of loot. Then there's the Bozak Horde. Bozak is one of the guys who challenges Crane to do parkour in mostly Old Town, but this is also a free-to-play update that has you stripped bare of all of your supplies. You get kidnapped to an unknown trial area, and to make it out of this demented area, you have to do certain abstract objectives that Bozak tells you on the intercom before time runs out. Bozak's Horde is incredibly challenging, especially for those who are low level. In fact, I've only beaten this game mode a few times in my life, but it's so much fun and definitely something you should try to beat. With that, there's another game mode that you can play called Hell Raid. This is actually not free to play. I'll make a separate video on this, as it's nothing like Dying Light, and supposedly this was going to be a standalone game before becoming a DLC. But still, it's here. There's so much to do in this game, and I've not even talked about the community that adds even more content into here. Like, Techland has supported anybody in the community to create different game modes or maps for all to play for free. Techland loves this to the point where you'll most likely find them hosting events for people to create the best theme maps in both Dying Light 1 and 2. And not only that, if you set your game to public, you can even face off in a PvP battle during nighttime. Called Be the Zombie, you or other randoms can join into matches to become a volatile mini-boss. The volatile's goal is to kill off 10 survivors in a 1v4 combat system, while the survivors must destroy 5 nests placed randomly around the map. Whoever reaches the objective first wins. This game mode is, albeit very split between the community. While some people enjoy the fast-paced and refreshing gameplay loot not seen in the rest of the game, other fans don't enjoy how this mode can happen at random times. As long as you're in a public match, anybody can join in to wreak havoc on your lobby. To me, it's an okay game mode. I never really go out of my way to be part of this mode, but usually if someone joins my match to become the volatile, I'll find myself enjoying the PvP once in a while. All in all, you can probably sink a couple hundred hours into this game alone to experience all that Techland has put in. And you'll probably enjoy those couple hundreds of hours, as Techland made the gameplay loop just that much enjoyable. It won't feel like a slog at all. It's so evident that Techland adores this game. There are very few companies that will update their games regularly over the span of 5 years, let alone a decade. Didn't Wildlight Entertainment shut down Highguard 3 months after it was released? Didn't Overkill's The Walking Dead shut down 2 weeks after it was released? Yeah, Techland absolutely mogs those companies. And just to reinforce how much Techland adores this IP, I need to take a second to mention the dozens of Easter eggs that are spread throughout the game. Around every corner, Techland has put in so many funny references to other popular media that completely show their love for what inspired them. Some of the most apparent ones that you've probably seen while playing this is the Half-Life Easter egg that I've already mentioned in the school. There's a giant banner on the tower's tower thanking the community for over a decade of support, which I always love to see. There's even a giant memorial that honors the father of zombie media, George Romero's passing. All of these Easter eggs are in your face. Techland made sure that you know where their intention lies when it comes to portraying good media, messages, or people. But beyond that though, there are so many other Easter eggs that you probably have missed. I know there are a couple of things that I've only recently come across. Some things that come to mind is the Super Mario level, where you can play in World 1-1 but with zombies. There's a Plants vs. Zombies Easter egg that completely baffles me, as how is this Easter egg better than the entirety of that one AI slop EA put out last year? And I can't even believe I'm mentioning this, but there's a Destiny 1 Easter egg where you go into a cave that offers quote-unquote infinite XP, but then gets patched? I mean, low-key, I don't really know what that means. Let me ask resident Destiny player Nanok what it means.
The cave in the top right corner of the slums, named Loot Cave, is a very clever reference to the Loot Cave in vanilla Destiny 1. The Loot Cave was a never-ending stream of enemies that also came with a never-ending stream of loot at a time when getting half-decent gear was very difficult.
Hold on, beep, 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 breaking news. Hold on, guys. I have just realized that nobody has ever played Destiny in the big 2026, so who the fuck cares about this anymore? There are just so many small or big Easter eggs that you can find throughout this world. This world just feels so alive and chock full of adoration towards other media. Techland is not shy to pay homage to other works, as seen with anything in the game. In turn, it gives the players such a great amount of refreshing content to play time and time again, and it sparks conversation as people are like, hey, do you know that this Easter egg is in this game? Did you know that this Easter egg is in this game? Hey, follow me, I need to show you this Easter egg. It just builds a stronger community full of people who appreciate media in general. With everything that you can do, with everything that you can view, and with everything that you can experience, there is basically nothing more that I can say about any of this, except that I just recommend you to play Dying Light for yourself. Even if you've played this game some odd years ago, there's a great chance that you'll probably find something new in your playthrough experience. So with everything said, that is pretty much Dying Light in a nutshell. A great game with great content. Although the story itself is by far the lowest point of the entire playthrough, Techland more than makes it up with the gameplay and side content. The player is given so much freedom to do what they want by themselves or with friends outside of the story, and combine that with the fact that the core gameplay is just so polished, and you're still in for a great experience. Upon the release of Dying Light, Techland was met with great praise, at least from fans. Most journalist websites pretty much cited the same highs and lows from this video. However, they would rate this game an average of 7 out of 10, as they believed that the story was the main pull for the game. Fan reception, on the other hand, couldn't be any better if Techland tried. On March 19th, 2015, it was reported by GameSpot that Dying Light reached a sales count of over 3.2 million copies. That's only 45 days after its initial release. Things only went up after a year since the release, as the sales count exceeded 5 million copies. And as far as we know in current time, Dying Light 1 was reported to have sold over 20 million copies as reported in a 2022 article. In the current day, the game is still going extremely strong. On the Steam alone, the game sits at a 94% positive rate with over 90,000 players contributing to that rating. And looking at the Steam charts, Dying Light has an average player count of around 4,000 to 7,000 with recent peaks of 15,000. For context, it's over 16 times the amount of average players than on Dead Island and 3 times on Dead Island 2. Not to mention, I'm only talking about this on Steam. Who really knows how many players are playing this across all current and past-gen consoles? Even Techland is still putting out major content changes to the game out of pure love for the product and their community, as just a few months ago, they released a major graphics update which completely overhauled all textures. They didn't need to do this. Dying Light did not look all that bad before this update, yet they did, and they made it so much more beautiful just because, fuck it, why not? It is a total 180 from how they viewed the limiting Dead Island, as that game has never received any major content update aside from the definitive edition release. Recognizing the success of Dying Light, Techland immediately went all in to work on their next big project. With the love that they had for creating Dying Light and with the cult classic reception from fans, the Polish company was quick to work on their next big project. So, half a year later, at Gamescom 2015, Techland announced their next big expansion, Dying Light the following. But that'll be discussed for another time. For now, fans were left with playing the almost perfect zombie game. The end. Hey guys, Scrakes here. From 2001 to 2005, I had the coolest job in the world. I just wanted to give this little end note section to give gratitude where it's needed. I'd like to thank everybody who has supported me while I was making this video, from the people who voiced the interview lines, to reviewing my scripts, or even being in the video for more cinematic shots. From the bottom of my heart, that means everything. I'd also like to thank you, the viewer, for being along for this ride. This video is very long, by far my biggest project that I've ever done, and the number of trials or tribulations I've gone through is extensive. Originally, I wanted to get this video out before Christmas of 2025, but I definitely bit off way more than I can chew with this project. But I'm very happy that I could finish with this project, and I'm very grateful that you guys have enjoyed it enough to watch this part of the video. If you guys could like and subscribe, that would not only help this out, but just the channel as well. I have my next bigger projects lined up already. I've learned quite a bit as of making this video, and I'm definitely going to use what I learned to kind of better myself in the future. And as far as the future has in store, I'm thinking about maybe making a Silent Hill 1 retrospective before I go into the following, just as a way to look at the game before the remake comes out, as well as taking a bit of a break from Techland Zombies. So if you want to watch that, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in a later video. Bye for now.